allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In the month of December, we celebrate and give thanks for the greatest gift you have given us, the birth of your Son and our Savior. We celebrate in part by sharing gifts with family and friends. We also share those with those less fortunate. Help us to remember those in need throughout the year. We also celebrate and give thanks for our fine staff, with a luncheon and a recognition of years served by our staff. We are grateful for the many blessings you bestowed upon us. Fill us with the wisdom to make the best decisions possible for the people of Manistee County. Amen.
Can I just add, Manistee County lost Bob Lyman, passed away just the other day. I think his funeral is tomorrow. He was a county commissioner for several years. I worked, he was also the personnel committee chair, and asked everyone to remember him.
Mr. Bergstrom?
Yes.
Mr. Hilliard?
Here.
Mr. Kolchak?
Here.
Mr. Marshall?
Here.
Mr. Schmidt?
Here.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Wager?
Yes, here.
All right, we're down to approval of the meeting agenda.
Motion to approve.
Support. Do we do anything about this one? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now we're gonna go to public comment.
No.
Consent agenda.
I'm sorry, consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
No, I need to add on, I'm going to make a motion to include in the consent agenda the closed session meetings minutes of 11/19/13 reference Fuel LLC, grievance number 13-40.
Support.
Do we need a roll call? Okay.
Mr. Bergstrom?
Yes.
Mr. Hilliard?
Yes.
Mr. Kolchak?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Here. Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Wager?
Yes.
Okay. Now we're going to move along to public comment. As usual, I would appreciate if, first of all, I'm going to ask for a raise of hand who wants to get up and do any talking. And if you notice that people ahead of you or so forth, if you're going to say the same thing they are, I'd appreciate it if we didn't do that over and over and over, because we're going to be late probably today the way it is. So I'll address some hand raising that wants to get up there and do some talking. Okay, you know, everybody's got their hand up. Okay, I'm going to need your name one at a time. And then we have the lady over here. Is that the only two people we have? Yes, yes. And we have two there. When you do get to the podium, be sure to tell us your name, and we'll go that way. All right. You're first. And your name is?
Richard Russell. I'm a resident of Bear Lake, Michigan. Okay. It's also my honor to be the first president of the Bear Lake Watershed Alliance. This is a new watershed that was just formed up in Bear Lake, and it covers 17,000 acres in Manistee County. Very proud of what we're doing up there. But really, I'm here today to express my and the Bear Lake community's support for one of our local residents, Dick Grimm, is a candidate for your Manistee County Road Commission. Dick went to high school in Bear Lake, and after graduating from college, he went on to Mount Pleasant and Troy and established his own professional engineering and surveying firm. He became a director of the public works for the city engineer and the cities of Mount Pleasant and Troy. In this capacity for 19 years, he was responsible for streets, drains, water and sewer systems, design operations, maintenance, street and drain construction. Dick retired back to Bear Lake. Dick is an active person in our community. He's a great volunteer. Dick has accepted an appointment to the Bear Lake watershed as the chairperson for an ongoing Bear Lake storm drain assessment and hopeful repair and new storm drain implementation if approved through a SAW grant. We believe Dick's professional background would be a great help and assistance as a new addition to the Manistee Road Commission, as a new member to their board. And we appreciate time for my comments. Thank you.
Is he here today?
I think he will be here. The roads are a little bit tough from Bear Lake right now. I just came through there, so I think he's expected to be here.
We're still on public comment, and if he wants to get up and tell us who he is, that's fine too.
Yeah.
You'll also be doing that, I think, when you have the actual appointment process.
Thank you.
10 o'clock.
Thank you. Yeah, well, for sure, when 10 o'clock comes, we're going to get everyone, that is all 7, whether they're here or not. Okay, let's see, I think the lady is the next is leave the podium, please, and tell us who you are and everything.
My name is Mary Lou Urson, and I am here representing many people, taxpayers living on Bar Lake. We had hoped through meetings and hearings that the Bar Lake Improvement Board would see the enormous opposition with the problem on Bar Lake, which is the chemical removal of weeds. However, the Bar Lake Association has appointed this board to work for them, and so this board is following their wishes. The original petition was in the understanding it was a neighborhood problem that would be resolved within the neighborhood and the association. No mention of a governing board or of the whole lake being under attack by chemicals. The idea was to see that what condition the lake was in. The Bar Lake Improvement Board was established by the Bar Lake Association to look into this matter. We have discovered what a very healthy lake we have, with spotty at best of invasive weeds. The lake as a whole does not need to be treated. In this respect, the Bar Lake Improvement Board has done their job and are no longer needed under the original idea of the petition. We have gone to the Manistee Township Board in dismay. They see it for what it is, a neighborhood problem, not a township problem. Therefore, I respectfully ask the Bar Lake Improvement Board to step down from the issue as their job is done. The association can now handle it with restorative lake science on an individual basis as the original petition indicated. The Bar Lake Improvement Board no longer has a 2/3 vote by that petition, as many people that signed are totally against the outcome and how far afield this has gone. My husband and I, as well as many long-term residents, have fought hard. My husband and I for 48 years, 46 of which have been on Bar Lake, to keep liens off of our home and humongous debt off of our shoulders. To have this board and this association, not a voting township, put this debt on us is very wrong. We respectfully ask Mr. Waitner and the rest of his board members to right this wrong by stepping down. Thank you.
I think sometimes maybe you want to read or Jeff address that?
No, absolutely. I'd be happy to address some of it at this point, actually. To clear up a couple of things, the Bar Lake Improvement Board was actually formed by Manistee Township, not the association. It was formed by a 2/3 majority petition, which still is considered legal and binding, which once the board is established, it becomes a board of action, and we've only been following the rules and laws as they're laid out for us. There has been some opposition from the beginning. It has been addressed all along. I don't know that if we're ever going to get to a point where there's no opposition. We did receive a respectful request from the township to slow down our processes, which we in fact did in good faith to make sure that there was time for people to investigate any of their concerns. The fact is if there is if the initial petition is being contested, that is for the riparians and the association to determine through an attorney of their own, because as it stands, the Bar Lake Improvement Board was legally formed by that initial petition. That all happened well before my time in my position, so this was a board that I inherited, and we have been working very, very diligently to do the best we can by all the residents that surround Bar Lake, not just the folks that are for. There has been one voice today in opposition, and there have been dozens of voices that are for the project at the Bar Lake meetings and at the township meetings. So you just received a one-sided approach, and it's a very important side because both sides are equally valuable. There's nothing wrong with people being in opposition to something, as long as they're willing to come forward like Mrs. Urson did today and do this publicly. There are some concerns, and they are being worked out. I can't give you a definite answer, but unfortunately we can't just step down because it's a legally formed board. There's no way that we can just walk away from what's already been started. As it was explained, the only way to take the board and dissolve it would be with another petition of 2/3 majority of the riparians asking us to stop, and that would in fact stop the process. So that's that.
Mr. Chair, can I make another comment? I think just to clear up any misconceptions, the Bar Lake Improvement Board is not a county board. Much like the Bear Lake Improvement Board that Mr. Hilliard sits on is not formed by the county board of commissioners. It's not a county issue. It's the county board of commissioners received a letter a few years ago from the Manistee Township Board of Supervisors or Board of Trustees asking that a county commissioner be appointed to that board. Mr. Anderson, Dwayne Anderson, who served prior to Mr. Waitner, was initially appointed to that board. I'm not sure that there was ever a meeting that he was involved in. I couldn't tell you whether that he actually attended any meetings before he left office. But once he left office, then Mr. Waitner, because he represents Manistee Township, was appointed by this board to serve on that Bar Lake Township, on that Bar Lake Improvement Board. That is really the only role the county has, other than the Bar Lake Improvement Board did ask this board, much like Bear Lake Township Improvement Board did, to front some money. And that money was fronted by this board up to $15,000. The bill has been paid in the amount of $5,000 just this past week. And that's really the only role for the county, and the county will be reimbursed for that expenditure.
We're going to move along now. Yeah, we do. We have 2 more. 2 more. Mark, do you want to be first, or?
Sure.
Yes, good morning. Thanks for allowing me to speak. My name is Mark Solden. I'm basically the new manager at the Road Commission, and I just want to stop by and introduce myself. Before coming to Manistee County, I basically worked for a consulting engineering firm in Bay City for about 29 years, mostly doing road and bridge design. And basically I worked for the Lyman County Road Commission as a manager for almost 7 years before coming here. So looking forward to working with the county board, the various townships and the residents of Manistee County. It's very beautiful county, and I'm looking forward to do a little more exploring. So just thanks for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Mark.
Welcome to the county.
Thank you.
Okay, and I think this is the last gentleman to talk, and if anyone else still wants to talk, you can raise your hand yet.
Good morning. My name is Ron Spencer. Just as a point of full disclosure, I am on the Airport Authority now. I have been since 2010, but today I speak for myself, not for the authority. The airport has been operated jointly by the city of Manistee and the county since about 1957.
During that period of time, the cost of operation, responsibility, and representation on the board was equally shared by both for many years. In 1991, the county and city deemed it advantageous to form an airport authority under the Airport Acts of 1957. The cost of operation, responsibilities for management, and so on and so forth, continued under both government bodies. And as the authority was formed, then all assets of the airport were actually transferred from the city and county to the airport authority, who now owns them. At some point prior to 1997, the city of Manistee concluded that they were better served by terminating their participation in the Blacker Airport Authority. After some 40 years of joint operation, on May 6, 1997, a transfer agreement was executed. Was provided for the city of Manistee the inter-involvement with the airport. The agreement called for the city of Manistee to pay Manistee County $255,000 over a 10-year period. On the handout I just give you, I'll refer you to paragraph 4A on page 2. And the statement in the agreement says the county shall assume and be responsible for the operation, control, and management of the airport. Furthermore, the county shall assume all the Federal Aviation Administration and Michigan Aeronautics Board assurances to which the airport is subject or may become subject, including but not limited to those on attached Exhibit B, and hold the city harmless thereon. I would like to call your attention to the first sentence of that section, where the city is relinquishing all responsibility for the operation, control, and management in the airport agreement. My question would be, can you relinquish operating responsibility and continue to appoint a board member to the authority? I don't think so. Payments from the city of Manistee were set up to start on January 1st, 1997, or within 30 days after the agreement was signed, and continue for a 10-year period. The last of the payments would have occurred on January 1st, 2006. Paragraph 4B, which is also on page 2, makes the statement, if there is an advisory board, the city shall be proportionately represented. During the 10-year payment schedule, the city of Manistee nominated one authority member to the Manistee County Board of Commissioners for appointment as provided by the then current Manistee Blacker Airport Authority bylaws dated October 12, 1998. In January of 2006, all payments having been made, the transfer from the city to the county would have been completed and the agreement would have been terminated. In 2012, the airport authority took all these factors and more into consideration when the bylaws were reviewed and amended. I was a member of the bylaws committee. Our committee recommendations were approved by the full membership of the Manistee Blacker Airport Authority on April 9, 2012. The logic behind the change to the appointments by the authorities were as follows. The city of Manistee had requested to remove from any management or operational responsibility from the airport, and the city wanted to be isolated from any liability pursuant to federal or other obligations. $255,000 was paid by the city of Manistee to effect this buyout. The city authorities of the city's authority representation changed from equal with the county to proportionally representative while the transfer agreement was active. It is no longer active. When the final payment was received by Manistee County, the transfer conditions were complete and the agreement ended. Since the city no longer has any skin in the game, we felt it was improper for the city of Manistee to have the ability to nominate a member to the airport authority board while no other city, township, or village in the county was granted the same privilege. It was a matter of fairness. I would therefore request that the Manistee County Board of Commissioners respectfully respect the Manistee Airport Authority bylaws and fill the authority opening using the application project the Manistee Board of Commissioners has established. Thank you.
Tom, do you want to do a quick thing here?
Sure. We were very confused over this issue also, but as you saw in your board packet, I'm sure, the airport bylaws and the agreement make
between the county and the city, whether that agreement was good or bad, is an agreement that was signed by this board back in 1997, I think it was.
97.
And it does say that if a board exists, an advisory board exists, there will be a city representative. We have received, and in your board packet, there is correspondence, a legal opinion from Mr. Stone, our prosecuting attorney, indicating that you must make a city appointment under that agreement. And there is no expiration to that agreement. There is an expiration, obviously, to how much the city paid, but in the agreement, he feels that the county still must make an appointment as a city member, whether the bylaws indicate that or not. So that's why it's on the agenda the way it is, because of that legal opinion.
Are we going to do something with that later?
Yes, you will get to that at 10 o'clock, your appointment process.
Let's move along with anyone else that wants public comment? If not, then we'll go ahead. And Rachel, you're up.
Morning. As you know, we are currently within a grant that we've received from MISTA. It's $175,000, and that's a 2-year grant, and that's what we use to run the housing program. For the first time, MISTA is requiring us to use 50% of our funding on a targeted area. And so since this was a new thing, MISTA hired a company, KBS, to do this process for all the counties that receive this funding. So basically, we went through the process with the company. You see on your agenda there was a group of people that got together to review this, and we selected Bear Lake Village, Parkdale, and the city of Manistee to be our targeted area. And that can change from grant to grant. So if we receive another grant and we look over things and we say, I don't think this really worked well, we need to change our targeted area, we can do that. But basically, we're just asking you to approve this targeted strategy for the grant.
I could also add that, and the committee members know this, that the choices made are based on demographics. Not all areas of Manistee County, I think I'm correct in saying, not all areas of Manistee County are eligible because of demographics, income, population,
and income,
those kinds of things. So the committee was limited in what they could choose, and they chose 3 areas that meet those demographics. And we had 3 county commissioners sitting on that committee, Mr. Waitner, Mr. Marshall, and Mr. Hilliard, correct? That also took part, along with Rob Carson, who provided some demographic information. Kathy Morin, our AES director, was also part of that. And so that group got together with the consultant and came up with this targeted area strategy document that needs to be acted upon by you today. And there is a resolution on your desk that was put on your desk today that basically, if you adopt this resolution, it will adopt that targeted area, and Rachel's work in that housing program will be based on that.
My understanding is if we want the money, we have to follow the procedure, and that's what this is all about.
I personally have my own feelings about this, but and I expressed those at the first meeting pretty strongly, and but that is MISTA's rules and HUD's rules at the federal level, and there's nothing we can do about it. More than likely, it's going to be 100% in the future, not 50%.
I'm just curious, so did you get any feedback from the community about this? Anything? Okay.
No feedback, but we've had applicants, and we've addressed one of them, and the service was in fact enacted and okay by, and then the end result of that was the person who had the work done signed off if the work was, they were satisfied with the work, and the company that did the work also.
Is that the well work? Is that the well work?
Yes.
Is that in Parkfield, I think?
What?
No.
We,
That was on.
we as county, I'm sorry, we as county commissioners don't know who it is. We just know a specific job.
Yeah, I'm not asking for
Yeah,
that. I'm just curious if it's in one of the 3 areas or not.
No, that one wasn't, but we do currently have other projects in the works, one in the city, there's a few in the city, people that have applied. And just to clarify, it is low-income housing rehab, that's the only thing we do with our funding.
It's kind of an emergency situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So does Michigan accept that?
Yes, we have there's two separate, it's actually specified in the grant. Part of our funding is for emergency projects, and then part is just for the homeowner rehab.
One of those problems, we probably could have went a little bit more, asked the community for more input. One of the problems we're facing is we're actually in danger of losing some of this money now because of the fact that we were behind schedule on this grant, and there were reasons. Jerry Prelip left the position. Rachel's in the process of being trained. The training was done later than we normally would do. The targeted area was put on hold for a while because Rachel was gone on maternity leave, and so there was a lot of things that came into play that have put us behind on this grant cycle, and we actually have to have the entire $175,000 spent by May, and we're going to really be pushing to get that done. So I really asked Rachel, we're reorganizing some duties in our office right now to try to give as much as we can, try to give Rachel almost full-time status on this housing program right now, and have some others pick up some of her other duties, because this is only a small part of her job. And it actually becomes very full-time during these busy months when she's doing the grant, and then there'll be a period where we're done with it, and she goes back to her normal duties. So it's very difficult for her right now because of that. So we're trying to rush this process through, and we're also sending a letter to MSHDA at their request explaining why we're behind, and some of it's because of MSHDA also. And so hopefully we'll get some extension on some of that.
Yeah, I believe was able to do something on this because it's really a program. It basically helps low-income people with their own income. So it's a good program, and once again, we're kind of stuck with where we can provide those funds, and if we don't, then we don't get the funds. So I understand. I just wanted to see if there was any responses from the community, and if there wasn't, that's okay too.
Also, I believe the commitment from MSHDA to actually give us the funds to send it to us was a great part of the delay also, I would like to mention.
I'll make a motion to approve this resolution.
Support.
Mr. Hilliard?
Yes.
Mr. Colchak?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Waitner?
Yes.
Mr. Bergstrom?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thanks, Rach. Tom, you're
Well, I don't know how many employees are here today, but we do have, I don't really see any of our employees or elected officials that are on this list that are in the room.
But Tom, I think maybe, if you don't mind, I don't need to tell you what to do here, but if we could just read it here, and we can do it again at the luncheon. But even though they're not here, there's people here that probably know them.
Would you like me to read them, or do you want to?
Go ahead.
We do recognize each year in December employees who have reached landmark years of service, and they will be recognized at the employee luncheon this afternoon by the board and by the chair. But those who have achieved 10 years of service, I'll read their name and their position and where they work. Sandra Domchak, custodian, Manistee County Library. Christine Goodrich, deputy clerk in the 85th District Court. Kathy Lynn, accounting clerk in the 85th District Court. Julie Majeski, executive secretary, legal assistant, Manistee County Prosecuting Attorney's Office. James Paranello, Probation Officer, 85th District Court. Lisa Centers, Appraiser, Manistee County Equalization Department. James Smugleski, Youth Services Director, 19th Judicial Court Family Division. And I should mention that Mr. Smugleski has really more than 10 years of service with the county altogether. He left for a while and then came back. So I think if you added up all his years of service, it exceeds 10 years by quite a bit.
I think it's 26.
What was that?
I think it's 26.
Yeah, I think you're probably correct. 15-year awards, James Johnson, Corrections Officer, Manistee County Sheriff's Office. Paul Warniak, Sergeant, Manistee County Sheriff's Office. Deborah Anderson, 911 Dispatcher, 911 Central Dispatch. Kenneth Falk, Emergency Management Coordinator, Lieutenant at the Manistee County Sheriff's Office. Lee Nelson, Jr., Animal Control Officer, Manistee County Sheriff's Office. And Frank Plusinski, Custodian, Manistee County Maintenance Department. I didn't do that right. 15-year awards for Mr. Johnson, Mr. Warniak, Deborah Anderson, Kenneth Falk, Lee Nelson, and Frank Plusinski have achieved 20 years of service with the county. And we have one 25-year employee, Jane Deasing, Branch Manager at the Manistee County Library, and we have one 30-year employee, Carrie Murphy, Child Support Enforcement Specialist, Administrative Secretary for the 19th Judicial Circuit Court, and the front, and she actually works in the front of the court, which is a part of the circuit court. These people are all very dedicated employees, and will be recognized today, this afternoon, during the luncheon.
If any are here, would you stand up just so we know who you are, if any of them did?
They're all working.
Yeah, they're all working.
They're dedicated.
Dedicated. That is dedicated. Either that or they didn't get in. Look at the snow out there.
Also, under recognition, or under announcements, there's an AES report on your desk. Those of you that attended the AES open house probably received those, but I put them all on your desk today, kind of gives an idea of everything AES is working on right now. There's also some information on mental health funding that I put on your desk, and the 12-13 last Friday's Housing Committee report. I also put on your desk and on everyone's chair what's called a WENS
emergency notification system?
Yes, the emergency notification system, and we are asking, or the emergency management coordinator and 911 is asking that everyone sign up online for that system. It will warn you when there's weather like this. You will get notifications on your cell phone, or you will get called at home whenever there's a tornado warning, a tornado watch, a snow warning. If there's a problem in your neighborhood where there's got to be an evacuation or there's some type of a issue, you'll be notified, and they are trying to advertise diligently to get everyone in the county to sign up on that system. It's a free service. The only thing you need to be aware of, I believe, is that if you don't have unlimited texting, there will be, if you sign up for this system to be text on your cell phone, texting charges apply. But you can just sign up on your home phone. You'll get a call from a specific number. I think it will tell you what number you will get that notification from, and you will actually get a voicemail or a voice warning for that system. So we're asking that everyone sign up on that system. And for those that are watching on TV, if you need any further information on that, I'm sure you can call our office, or you can call the sheriff's office or the 911 office, and they can guide you through that process.
Numbers on here too.
Okay. That's it.
Okay. Well, now we have our boy to come up here because he was gone for about, what is it, 6 months or no, 6 weeks or 6 days or anyway. Give us a little bit about that.
I don't have a lot to report today because I haven't been here much.
Well, just tell us a little bit about.
Since I've been back, I've been basically working on closing out the end of the year stuff because we have auditors coming right after the holidays, and I need to be ready for them. So that's basically what I've been concentrating all my efforts on, and I am only working part-time. Hopefully that will end after the holidays, and I'll get back to work full-time. I did have one thing that I wanted to tell you about. If you remember, a few months ago, you approved a part-time employee for my office to do the PRE audits. We've sent out a little over 150 of the audit questionnaires. We have denied 14 people their principal residence exemption. We have billed them for $27,609 in interest, of which $19,326 will come to the county to help pay for that person. So that, in the 3 months that she's been working on it, she's probably generated close to enough money to cover what it's going to cost the county to pay her wages to do that. But the most important thing is that in those denials, we have billed $114,578 that will go to the schools. Now, this is money that's been billed, it hasn't been paid, and those people can appeal it, but we feel pretty strong about our denials and that we follow the law, and it would be very difficult for them to get these denials overturned. But it is possible. But I just wanted to let you know that that program is working well. So, and then, well, they'll appeal it, and the tax tribunal will probably make the decision as to whether they have to pay it or not. And if the tax tribunal rules in our favor and they don't pay it, then it will go through the foreclosure process. But I'm sure that if the tax tribunal rules in our favor, that they will pay the taxes.
And this is in most cases where they thought they were eligible for an exemption, but found out that they weren't.
Right, yeah. In some cases, they knew they weren't, and, you know.
Well, before you sit down, maybe some of you probably don't know what I was talking about at first, and if you just give them a quick rundown of what you went through.
Well, I went for a routine heart cath and found out that I was so sick I couldn't leave the hospital and had to have emergency surgery, and but now I'm back and better than ever, so I'm ready to go.
We're glad to have you back.
Yeah,
Thanks.
If not, we have to do somebody else's surgery. We're glad you're back.
Thanks.
Okay. We are now up to Larry Thompson, Township Zoning Administrator. You will be here to speak on issues regarding the green code. Is he here?
Yeah, I'm right here, but I'm gonna have the supervisor do the talking today. I got it. I can't even talk.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I'm Phil Badabunker. I am the Sonic Township Supervisor. I'm here on behalf of the people of the township, and along with me are just Madam Zoning Administrator Larry Thompson, and our Planning Chairman, Mr. Robert Rochelle, and a Board Member, Mr. Phil Landis. We're here this morning just to make a very short and not contrite, but to the point presentation. We have some specific questions to ask our county board and or our county drain commissioner. If you permit me to do so, I will continue here. You should have each gotten a little packet this morning requiring only a yes or no answer for our agenda today. Actually, this all has to do with, and you know what it is, it's the Kettle Hole Drain District. And although our taxpayers have been assessed already, we're not really ready yet to put this to bed insofar as the township is concerned. So if you'll permit me, I'll start asking some questions here. All I require is an explanation, if you have one, or a direct yes or no answer.
Well, I wonder if we should ask the drain commissioner, because I don't think us are very up on it, whatever.
In respect to your questions, a lot of these would be addressed to the state commissioner, not so much the board of commissioners.
You're speaking about the statute.
Pardon?
You're speaking about the statute? Drain code?
We don't control the elected official drain commission.
Okay.
Is what I mean.
So you do not have a job description for, as far as the county goes, for the drain commissioner?
Oh, I can't answer that question. I'm saying as a rule, though,
I can answer.
then would be state.
I can answer a couple of these questions.
Well, let's do one first.
Some of them probably should not be answered today, but or the information can't be provided today. But some of these are very, very quick answers.
Yes.
I can answer. Number one, you're asking, does the drain commissioner have a job description? The answer is no. There is not a job description other than the statute for any elected official. They don't have job duties other than what are in the statute. If you ask for any other county employee, there would be a job description. We could provide it to you in a matter of minutes if we had to, but there is no job description for any elected official, and the reason for that is because their job duty is set by statute. Number two, you're asking if the county board requires any qualifications. The only qualifications to be an elected official in this county, any elected official, other than the prosecuting attorney, is to be 18 years of age and be a registered voter in this county, period. Correct? County? No? There are no other qualifications.
So that's no.
So,
It appears like a no.
Number three, does the person running for county drain commissioner have to turn in a resume or application? I know there's no resume or anything like that in any statewide office. I don't know what the other requirements might be. Ms. Novak can probably answer that question better than I can.
Well, if they run for office, I'll file a petition with my office with so many registered voters signing that petition. And like Mr. Kaminsky said, they have to be 18 years of age and a registered voter. There's no application or resume process for elected officials. Even all the way down to the township, to the city, to any elected official, you don't have to have a resume or an application.
That was kind of understood by myself and the representatives here, but we just want to go through the motions right now to make sure that we have an answer one way or the other, which may have to do with any action or reaction that we may have afterwards and looking down the line. Does the drain, do you bond, is the drain commissioner bonded, and who provides it? And how much is it?
Every county employee and elected official in Manistee County is bonded for $1 million. Now, statute requires some bonds are much less than that, but the Michigan Municipal Risk Management Authority provides a faithful performance bond and dishonesty bond on every employee, a blanket bond for $1 million.
Okay.
Automatic.
So that's through the state or the county?
To the county. The county pays for that bond. When the county pays its roughly $194,000 property and liability insurance coverage each year, which covers all its property, all its liability, included in that coverage is a blanket bond for every employee.
I understand.
And elected.
I think there's a minimum of what, 100,000?
There's different requirements for different people, but we have $1 million on it. And that's just standard with MMRB. We can't say, well, we only want 500,000. That's part of their coverage.
Thank you. We would like to ask the drain commissioner if you could go and retrieve the complete file in Kettle Hole and Drain District from the beginning until now with all itemized bills, costs? Can you do that at this time?
Not at this time, I cannot.
Could you get it to us after the meeting?
No.
What you're asking for here, if I read this correctly, you're going to need to write a FOIA letter, a Freedom of Information Act letter, specifically asking what, for this information. And then by statute, we have 5 days to provide that information, or 10 days if the information, if we ask for an extension, it's more than likely this will take an extension. And you'll have to be specific in what you're asking for. And you're being somewhat specific here, but you will need to send that letter, and then there'll be...
And who would I send the letter to?
I would send it directly to the Drain Commissioner. The Drain Commissioner then will provide it to me with the information, and I will more than likely, or an attorney will respond to that.
Just hand
You also will be charged for research and copying charges under statute. There's certain provisions in that statute that allow us to charge a certain amount per page or whatever.
Is that even if it's a local unit of government?
Yeah. Well, we try to be consistent with everyone, so you can waive those fees if you want to, but it's going to be substantial, I think, as far as the amount of records that it would be really good if you could pinpoint exactly what you're looking for in that letter, and provide that information.
I've actually just handed the Drain Commissioner that letter that you're speaking about. Could the Drain Commissioner read Section 280.30 of the Drain Code?
No, I won't.
Well, you read it out of here.
No, I won't.
This is the statute.
I know what the statute is, but I won't read it.
Okay.
Can I read it for you?
You can read it for me if you want to.
Section 280.30, District, Drainage District, Financial Statement Records, Prerequisites to Tax Spread. It shall be the duty of each commissioner to make and keep full financial statement of each drainage district. The commissioner shall also make and keep in his office, in a book to be provided for that purpose, a complete record of each drainage district, which record shall include a copy of the application for the purpose of a complete record of each drainage, which include a copy of a complete application laying out the designating of such district, the petition for the drain, of the minutes of the survey, of the releases of the right-of-way where the same have been released, of the orders of determination, of the necessity for and of the establishment of the drain, and of the apportionment and assessment of benefits thereof. Where special commissioners have been called, it shall also contain a copy of the application to the probate court, of the return of the special commissioners, and of all other papers in his office necessary to show a complete history of each drainage district, all of which said original papers shall then be enrolled and filed in the office of the County Drain Commissioner. No drain tax shall be spread until all the records required have been deposited and filed in the office of the County Drain Commissioner. I'm asking if you have all those records.
So what are you asking for Kettle or for every drainage district I have in the county?
I'm asking for Kettle Hole in particular.
Okay, just Kettle.
Yes.
You've already asked me these, and that's why I wouldn't provide them to this, right?
Okay. Yes.
And that question was, if you've already turned this, then that question was answered for this.
Well, we just wanted to make sure that everybody else heard.
But the statute kind of overrides what Mr. Kaminsky said. It's supposed to be on record in his office anytime.
Yeah, we were asking for all the records, everything that he had pertaining to Kettle Hole Drain District, if he could go immediately retrieve those for us. And the answer was no, and he needed somebody to do that.
I can tell you that if you ask me today for information, I would ask you to provide it to me in writing, and I would provide it to you. I wouldn't jump up right now and be able to provide that information to you. That's just, there's a process that you go through to get that information.
Excuse me, say something.
Commissioner, will you allow the question?
Well, it's going to be a short one, right, Bob?
Sure. The reason why we're making this pertinent, Tom, is that it specifically states in the drain code itself that no tax be levied of any sort unless these records are on file, and we have countless times requested the bills from the Drain Commissioner, which we've never received. There's already been an assessment assessed to our people, which violates the drain code. Thank you.
If you just ask a county employee or an elected official for information and they do not provide it to you, that's what the Freedom of Information Act law is for.
No, I understand that.
And he has to provide it.
I understand that, and I agree with that. But my point is, maybe I didn't explain it right, that was supposed to be on file and provided before any tax assessment was levied. There's already been a tax assessment levied on the people of the Kettle Hole Drain, and those records are not there, and they haven't been provided to those people, to us.
Maybe I could break in here for just a second. The letter I just handed Mr. Smith gives him some time. So if he can't do it now, he can do it within the next 5 days.
That's correct.
And he has that in his hand, so.
But I want to bring up, you're violating the drain code because the statute states, even though you don't agree with it, you didn't write the statute.
No, I'm not saying I don't agree with the drain code. What I'm saying is, if those records are available, there is a process that you need to go to if you have not been satisfied with the Drain Commission providing them. What I think you're referring to is that you're thinking that maybe those records will be created and then provided to you. That can't be done that way. If those records don't exist right at this moment, they're not going to be created and then provided to you. They have to be on file right now. There's not going to be anything created for you under the Freedom of Information Act. But there is a process that you go through to get to that point, and just asking the Drain Commissioner at a meeting today to go and grab all those records is really unrealistic.
Well, Mr. Kaminsky, we've asked time and time again of the Drain Commissioner, and we've
I'm
got
not
no...
an attorney, so
Yeah.
May I answer that?
Sure.
You asked me for how much are you owed and how much the cost was, and I provided that to you.
We asked right
My lawyer sent that to you also. Okay, that's all you asked for. You never asked for every record I had at any particular time. So you're just misleading just a little bit there, because I did give you what you asked for in the beginning, whether you agree with it or not.
Yes, in the beginning, what we did was we came to your office several times and asked for itemized statements of all costs and related material to Kettle Hole Drain. And it was as simple as that. But now we got to isolate every detail, otherwise you're not going to answer. So this is what we're doing.
Well, I have no problem with doing this. But you didn't specifically ask me for that in my office at any time. I gave you an itemized list of what the cost.
Okay, are we done on that point?
Yeah. What number are we on now?
Number 5.
Number 5?
No,
Number 9?
we're on number 8.
All right, go to 8.
A statement was made to our township attorney from the Drain Commissioner that anyone from our township wanting to correspond with him would have to go through our township attorney. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. You know why?
I would like to know.
Because you sat in my office and I told you the next time I go to one of your meetings and your people start calling me names, I would be done working with you. You'd have to talk to the lawyer. I went to the 23rd, October 23rd. I was beaten up pretty bad. I was threatened. And I was called names. And I will not, I'm not going to conduct business like that. Bottom line, you want to talk to me now or you want to talk to my attorney, you will be more than to. And Pat Dory even told you. And has repeatedly told you. Now, that's another statement in your mind.
Right. And the thing of it is I provided for you what you asked for, law enforcement, to make sure things didn't get out of hand. If it would have gotten out of hand, he would have surely stepped in. He was there. So, but the thing of it is what happens is when people ask you questions and you just evade the subject, all you do is light a fire under them, and pretty soon things get pretty hectic. Now, if you remember, I gavelled down several times at that meeting to try and keep control. And you can only do what you can do. You can lead the horse to water, but you ain't going to make him drink. And that's one reason why we had law enforcement at the hall for that special meeting. I'm sure if it would have got out of hand, he would have stepped in.
Tom, I'd like to ask you a question. You keep saying my attorney. Excuse me, but don't you work for us? And doesn't that attorney, don't we pay his wages? So, or are you paying his wages? Is that why you keep...
I don't want any of that here. You just go off and you talk. Don't go. We have somebody up here that's in your position.
Okay, that's fine. That's right.
Are we on question 9?
We're on question 9.
I'd like to address the report, Mr. Chairman. The question is, did you read those documents? I read them very thoroughly. And I think that Shronic Township has made a very good point. I don't know how many of the rest of you read that. I believe that there probably is at least one procedure that was violated. And I don't think that the files records are accurate. And I am questioning as county commissioner, the prosecuting attorney, review the files and the procedures that were followed in this. Because I think there was a misjustice occurring on this. And I also think they should not have to be charged to get information.
You can waive that fee. You can absolutely waive that fee.
And that's my position.
Mr. Chairman, we've tried nicely to deal with this thing right from the start. I've been in front of you now 3 or 4 times. In addition, some of my board members and my commissioners have been in front of you. We absolutely get nowhere, so we got to go out and do our own homework. We can't ask a civilized question of the drain commissioner and get a reliable answer. So therefore, we go out and we document everything that we can come across, especially the statutes. Everybody in our township, all our board members, are reading the statute and studying the statute, and we shouldn't have to do that. We should be able to rely on the people that we elect in our county to do the job they've been elected for and to work for the people, not the position. So, Mr. Bergstrom, I appreciate your comments there.
Will that happen?
Pardon me?
Will that happen? The prosecuting attorney review those
I certainly,
procedures?
I think that he should be asked. Yeah.
I asked the prosecuting attorney to be here today. He could not be here. He has to be in court. But we can do whatever the board wants.
I want that request from the floor.
And I would request that the county township not be charged for the FOIA.
We need to do that in form of a motion, but on as a matter of record.
I would appreciate if you would give us instruction in the form of motions.
I'll make the motion that we require the prosecuting attorney to look into the whole drain project from stem to stern, and also waive the FOIA fees to Shronic Township in regards to that information.
I think I should be 2 separate motions.
Pardon?
I think I should be 2 separate motions.
Copy that. First one is to request the prosecuting attorney to investigate.
I'll second that.
Hold on. Do we need a vote?
We do need a vote, but is there anyone that wants to?
I think it's been discussed.
Yeah, has been.
So your motion is to ask the prosecuting attorney to review the records of the Kettle Hole Drain District.
That would be the procedures followed, because I think there's some procedures that are violated, and to review the record, the total documents. There are certain documents that need to be filed. I don't think they were filed. Does that pretty much cover it?
It does. We would like to have the prosecuting attorney.
Okay, can we vote on this?
We have to vote on
Hold on.
All right.
Okay, so the motion is to request the prosecutor to review the kettle hole drain records and the procedures that were followed.
That's correct.
Okay.
There's a lot of detail in those records that's supposed to be maintained according to the materials that was presented to us. And I don't think they were all followed.
Yes.
Mr. Kolchak?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Bergstrom?
Yes.
Mr. Hilliard?
Yes.
Thank you.
May I add one thing? The person that who has done all this, his name was Mark Benedetto. I had nothing to do with any of the procedures other than putting in the culvert, and the assessment had already been set. All I did is just pass it on to Mr. Pomeroy.
Tom, I'm not talking personalities. I would agree that probably all or most of that was set up by the previous drain commissioner. But I want the whole file. I want the whole file checked.
Okay?
You know, it's common law practice too that, you know, if you're not.
We have another motion here, I think.
I'll make the second motion to waive the FOIA fees to Toronto Township. I'll second that.
Comment? I'm in favor of it, but if we're going to waive the fees for Shenandoah Township FOIA, that's going to open the door to every other township FOIA for information that we're not going to charge fees for. Is that understood?
I think that's a good
If
point.
Onaka
but at the
Township
same
or Beverly
time-
Township wants to FOIA information, then we're going to waive those fees too. We're not going to do it for just one.
I think you can make exceptions.
I think
This is a unique situation.
extenuating circumstance,
If they come down here,
convicted.
if one of the other townships come down here and ask for information, and they come up with a, explanation that's understandable, and we're going to waive the fees for them too.
I think
I don't have a problem with that.
I
think if you go back
got
and
a
record,
situation
you're not
with
gonna
Kettle
find all the
I think they deserve the opportunity.
But I'm just saying, we're opening the door here. I just want all of us to understand that. If other townships want to FOIA information, they have the right to ask for us to waive those fees.
We have the right to deny it.
Okay.
So let's have that motion again, so we know exactly.
I just have a motion to waive the FOIA fees for Sonic Township concerning kettle hole.
Yes, limited to Kettle Hole.
Okay, and that requires a yes or no.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
No.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
Mr. Bergstrom?
Yes.
Mr. Hilliard?
Yes.
Mr. Kolchak?
No.
Passes 5-2.
Thank you.
Also, that's a good thing, because now public entities can come in here and maybe get a little bit of information depending on the situation, and not have to be paying out every single time, depending on the situation. Thank you.
I would just like to say, just in response to that, if a township official walked into any one of our offices on a normal basis, at least that's how my office operates, and I know the county clerk and the treasurer and others operate that way, and said, do you have a copy of this, or do you have a copy of that? We provide it to them. And we don't charge for that. In this case, you're asking for specific information under the Freedom of Information Act, which is really needed in this case, because you're asking for documents, and we want to make sure we're specific on them. I'm glad the board waived that fee, but we do need something in writing, and I'm glad you provided that to the drain commissioner, so that there is a specific request, so that this can be answered properly. And I just want you to know that we don't charge for every time someone walks in. We don't charge for that. I just want that to be clear.
And Tom, we do that in our office too. If someone comes in and wants maybe election results, that's a couple of pages for what they ran for. But if they want election results for 2000 through 2010, then I want a FOIA and something in writing and payment. You have to be reasonable, I think.
I have to say that every time that I've come up and requested a copy of anything from from my own personal agendas. I've never been charged, so I just want to make that clear. But in this case, there's a lot of information.
I can understand why and I hope you can understand why we're asking for a FOIA request, because this has gone on for a long time, and we want to be specific in how we answer it. We want to be legal in how we answer it. And the two motions the board made make me much more comfortable about this whole entire situation. Because the first couple of questions I could answer as to, the election and with the help of the county clerk. After that, you're getting into a lot of legal stuff here. And I'm not an attorney. I just happen to know the answers to the first 2 or 3 of these questions.
Well, I'm sure within a reasonable amount of time, Mr. Smith will have, and through his attorney or whoever he has, will be able to provide this information in a reasonable amount of time so that we can go over this. Also, you people need to have this information too, because I believe that we're going to want to be put on, if we can be, on the agenda for your February meeting.
So what I'd like to mention to you is that if we get the prosecuting attorney working on this, he will have a legal eye, and he will look and look at every prosecuting every eye and every eye. So, you may not have to do a lot of that. I'm not saying don't, but I'm saying that the attorney reviews it, and they're pretty nice.
Well, I will have to tell you that the FOIA request, and the FOIA request protects you also. If you just ask for the information, there's really no deadline on it. With an actual FOIA request, there is a legal deadline that we have to meet, and it's really 5 days, and then if there can be an extension, I think up to 5 days. I don't know the law exactly, but we've got information on that in our office, and we have form letters that we put out that deal with those things. But as far as the prosecuting attorney, I will immediately this week get a letter to him asking for this information, asking him to do this, and then he can respond.
Yeah, we have a question.
Sure. Just 1 minute. Jill has got probably what you're looking for.
I just got the Freedom of Information Act here. I
Yeah,
can look while you're talking.
amendments.
I'll look to see. I think it's 5 days too.
It's 5 days, and then there will be an extension of up to another 10 days, or another 5 days. We'll make sure we meet the deadline.
Mr. Bergstrom, is that I understand what you're saying, get it to prosecuting attorney, but the reason we came to this meeting here is because we have a lot of other stuff out there that we haven't brought forward. And what we wanted to do is we gave you some of them, but we have some very, very other good evidence that we know that's wrong, everything else. So if that's the case, and you want us to be in the next agenda, then we would like, because we were appointed a committee at the township, we'd like the committee to get in front of the prosecuting attorney, because it ain't going to do no good to have him go through the Freedom of Information Act and look what was done. Because unless you studied this statute as much as all 4 of us have, it would help to have us point out items in there that...
Well, how about when Tom gets a response from the prosecuting attorney work with me and you?
Yes,
that would be good.
Tom, that makes sense?
That would be great.
This is also. Why are we going to the prosecuting attorney here? Shouldn't it be your attorney that you guys would have better luck with?
We feel that our questions here don't need an attorney. We know what has been violated and what hasn't been violated. If you need to go to your prosecuting attorney, go right ahead to him. That shouldn't be at our expense. We know exactly what we're talking about here. Or at the very least, we think we know what we're talking about, but I'm pretty sure we do, otherwise we wouldn't be bringing it up in front of you. We've spent a lot of time on here, much more time, I'm sure, than the drain commissioner has on the same subject. So if that's what you need to do, that's what you need to do, and we're willing to share our information with that guy. We're willing to come and show him what we have.
So what are you talking, who's that guy?
Your prosecuting attorney, Mr. Stone.
And there's no reason that we can't do it. We talked to our attorney about it, he thinks it's a great idea. He says, you know, it'd save your township some money.
All we're asking is to get it right.
Well, if the prosecuting attorney works on it, we have definitely a legal basis and a legal mind working on it, and it's not costing you for the prosecuting
Right.
attorney.
That's what I said.
Point of order, that's already been determined, we've already made the motion, so we should probably move on at some point.
Right.
So I think if it's okay with the board, I think we'll still, provided we get with the prosecuting attorney and share information back and forth, I think it'd still be a good idea to keep that February agenda up. Or do you want to do it in January? I got February here.
Yeah, I know it was like
Okay. January then. The step-by-step legal process, number 10, to form a drain district for the Michigan Drain Code Act 40. I'm sure you're going to be addressing that too. We're asking the Drain Commission to go through that step-by-step process with us and share that with us, but I'm sure.
More drugs are having the past too. And so he's
Can you do that now?
What, step by step? I don't think we have the time.
No, we don't have the time here. We can do, I'm doing.
Okay, we'll do it in January then, if you can put us on the January agenda.
Tom, can you get on the agenda?
I have it written down.
Yeah, we'll need to have the information prior to that meeting, otherwise it's a non-issue. I mean, you're not going to study it at the meeting, you're going to study it before the meeting.
When is the January meeting?
There is no meeting scheduled.
No meeting scheduled.
At this point,
The board will schedule their meetings at their organizational meeting on January 2nd. If you keep the same schedule, it'll be the third Tuesday in January.
However, is there enough time even in that one, or do you want, would that be good for you? I mean, is it?
At this point, I have no idea what response you're going to get from the prosecuting attorney on this, so we need to speak with him. And
I think that's-
Bergstrom can help me with that.
I think that's important to get to that point first, and then we'll go from there.
Well, let's have you show us up in on the 3rd of January, and
That's just an organizational meeting.
that's an organizational meeting. So if you come at the beginning, you. The next board meeting would be better, but I think that what they're saying is that by that time, they would need it.
You can't do that.
You can't do it anywhere.
I'd rather do it the third Tuesday, or the third Tuesday of January, which would be your regular meeting.
Correct.
That's the way you schedule it.
Yep. Yep. What is that? Does anybody have Tuesday?
21st.
21st? That'll work.
Unless anybody else has any further comments to the board, I think I'm done. I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Okay, we have library board at 10:30, so before that, you want to do okay, at 10 o'clock we're supposed to be into airport authority appointments, so we'll do that now. So, I have the people here that are want to be on the board for the airport authority. I know Dwayne is. Now, Mark, you're also, here as a, because you have a year there. And, Dale Picardy, that's city of Manistee. Is that what we're doing? That we're going to?
Are you looking for a motion now?
Well, we gotta do something here for this meeting for, most of these are expected,
There's no list of.
expiring on the 31st.
You have two things in front of you for airport. You have the commissioner representative, which would be Mr. Bergstrom's appointment, and the bylaws of the airport authority say you can have up to 3 commissioners on the airport authority, but it's not required to have. So you as a board have to decide whether you reappoint Mr. Bergstrom for a 3-year appointment this time rather than 2-year, because the airport bylaws, which you have to abide by because there's no other agreement, is for a 3-year term. So Mr. Bergstrom, if he is appointed today and then chooses not to run for office next year or is defeated, he will still remain on the airport authority for another 2 years as a non-commissioner, and you only have 2 commissioners then on the airport authority, because of the way the airport bylaws were rewritten. They used to say that you had 3 county commissioners, they served concurrent with their terms of office for 2-year periods, but that was changed. The other appointment is for the city appointment. You heard Mr. Spencer disagree with what's on the agenda today, and he feels you shouldn't have to make a city appointment. Our prosecuting attorney has given you legal advice that you do have to make a city appointment based on the transfer agreement that was made back in 1997. That has been changed from a 2-year to a 3-year also. And so if the city has officially given us a name of Dale Picardy, who is the incumbent, and he is saying you must make a city appointment. Now, you don't have to appoint Mr. Picardy. You can vote no on Mr. Picardy but then if he is not reappointed, we'll send another letter back to the city saying, give us another name. We don't want Mr. Picardy to serve. If you choose to put him on, you can. And then normally we would not advertise for the commissioner appointment, but there was confusion over this whole issue, and so and you need to decide. I would highly recommend that you have commissioners on the airport authority, but that's your decision.
The question here is...
So you have 2 different things.
Are 4 people going to try to get the same one that Mark has been in?
That's correct. That's correct. The city appointment is just Mr. Picardy. You vote yes or no. The commissioner representative is either Mr. Bergstrom or any other of the 6 county commissioners. Well, actually, only 4 of the others, because you have Mr. Schaefer and Mr. Marshall, who already serve on the airport authority. They are serving terms of office. It would be either Mr. Bergstrom, Mr. Schmidt, Mr. Waitner, Mr. Krolchik, or Mr. Hilliard could be appointed as a commissioner representative. Mr. Bergstrom, I put him on the agenda because he happens to be the incumbent in that position. So you have two different actions you're going to take. So if you agree with what the prosecuting attorney told you.
So we will then go and get Mark, and then after that, we'll have 3 then. Adamski, Anderson, and Haw, and Tom.
No, you will decide if Mr. Bergstrom.
Yeah.
Probably the first thing you need to do is ask Mr. Bergstrom if he wants to serve.
3 years.
Yes, I would like to.
If he wants to be reappointed.
I've been very active. I've prepared for every meeting. I participate. I'm on the budget committee. I helped.
I make a motion to approve Mark Bergson's airport board authority for this 3-year term.
Carl? Any discussion?
Well, the discussion is that the other 3 gentlemen have not had a chance to voice their concern and their knowledge and stuff like that. I think all 4 of the individuals should have a right to address this board. And this motion here...
Appropriate nomination should be appropriate nomination.
Yep. They have the right to address this board as to why they want to be on the airport authority board. And this motion denies them that right.
Well, the way Tom explained it, that Mark, we need one.
You have 4 people running for one position. Mark Bergstrom is the incumbent at this time. Okay. So, the motion for Mark is not, it's not, it has to be a vote of this board, first of all. And second of all, the other 3 gentlemen have the right to address this board as to why they want to be on the Airport Authority Board.
They fill out applications.
They have the right to speak to us.
And those 3 are, if that was the case, and one of those 3 won that, well then.
I know 2 out of the other 3 are here, and they would like to probably address this board here as to why they are worthy of being on this board too.
If Mr. Bergstrom does not receive 4 votes, and one of the other 3 receive 4 votes, we will have 2 county commissioners on the airport authority. I'm just answering Mr. Bergstrom.
My point is everyone should have a chance to even speak to the board yet as to why they deserve to be on the airport authority.
The reason that there are others that are non-commissioners is because the bylaws state if up to 3 commissioners if you choose to have 3 commissioners. If you choose not to have 3, you can have 0 on the airport authority if you want. You can have 1, you can have 2, you can have 3. You can't have 4, but you can have up to 3. So you could choose to say, well, we only want 2 county commissioners. So and that's a board decision. So
Are all 3 of these people here?
I see 2 of them out there.
I see 2 of them out there also. Now what do we do? Because, okay, the ones that are here are would you like to address this board? And, okay.
Hello, good morning. My name is Jerry Haw.
Podium, please.
Oh, podium. Good morning again. My name is Jerry Haw. I applied to the County Airport Board because it was in the paper, and I'm retired, and I've got quite an extensive business background, and I want to get more involved in the community. But now it looks like we've already got a decision made up, so.
No.
See where it goes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dwayne?
Good morning. I'm Dwayne Anderson. I served on the airport board for 2 years. I've had 1 year off. I enjoyed it and participated in the meetings, and I'd like to get back on. Thank you.
Tom Watts is also on this, but I don't think he's here, is he? Okay.
just so you know, the airport authority consists of, right now, 3 county commissioners, 1 city representative, and 3 at-large members, for a total of 7. There are no at-large members for appointment this time. There's just the commissioner or representative, but like I said, it doesn't have to be a county commissioner. It can be.
But after this, then we'll go to the city. There's only one.
Whichever way you want to go.
So let's do this one we just got through doing here. Let's go around now. Do all of you know out there?
I have a motion and a second on the floor.
Are we still discussing?
Yeah.
Well, you have to go around and ask who you want, but I do have a motion and a second on the floor.
So you need to vote on that motion, and that motion is to make to appoint Mr. Bergstrom. If that motion fails, then you will more than likely go around the room and ask for individual commissioners to vote on who they
Is
want.
there going to be, that would be just 3 of them, that should Mark win? Then
if Mr. Bergstrom receives 4 votes, you go directly to the city appointment.
And that's it? What about the 3 there?
They are basically competing, I'll use that word, competing against Mr. Bergstrom for the appointment.
Okay, so in other words, they have...
Or any other county commissioner you choose. I don't want to complicate it, but it doesn't have to be Mr. Bergstrom either.
Well, it can be Bergstrom or any of the 3 people then. Am I right?
We have to go through the motion first that was made. Yes or no, or withdraw the motion. Well, we should have a vote on that.
With the motion, we're gonna lose these guys and.
No, do the motion first. We already have a motion made, we have to address the motion.
Okay, let's address the motion.
Or it can be withdrawn.
Carl mentioned something about withdrawing it.
The person who makes the motion would have to do that.
Are we still in discussion? I believe that the county has been very consistent with, county commissioners have been very consistent over the years to have representation at the Airport Board Authority with 3 county commissioners. I think the interest with the county and the airport is important. I believe that the 3 county commissioners should be on the Airport Board Authority. And as far as the problem in this case is with the motion on the board, which I'm not going to withdraw, is Mark Berkshire for 3 years. If he decides not to run next year or is defeated, then he's there for 2 years as not a county commissioner. Therefore, the county then only has 2 county commissioners. I believe that should be addressed in the bylaws, which we can do in the January meeting at the Airport Board Authority.
Well, the bottom line here is still, I agree with that. I agree with Mark would be great if he's been on the board and everything else. But we have 3 more people there now. Now, we're not going to be able to, there's nothing there for them. So here they are in print. They went went to the clerk and got it. So what are we going to do with those 3? Is there?
Let's call the question first and take care of the motion. And then we'll address it if the motion doesn't pass.
Okay.
Chair, would you like me to call the question?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Waitner?
Yes.
Mr. Bergstrom?
Okay, staying in this situation,
No.
well, I think I'll do a good job. Yes.
Mr. Hilliard?
No.
Mr. Kolchak?
No. Oh, only because of these 3, Mark. It's got nothing to do with it.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Passed 5-2.
Actually, we've never done it this way.
No, I know that.
I know what Kenny was getting at. We usually go around and we ask everybody who they would want. We don't make a motion and say that person.
That's right.
We don't do that.
Unless it's the only person.
And it was the only person.
No, it was not.
No, it wasn't. That's what I was trying to. And Judge Hall had it when he came up to the podium.
Yep.
So, okay. I don't know. Now we'll go to the one that is in the city council. It's a 3-year term, beginning January 1st and expiring December 31st of 16.
I make a motion to appoint Dale Picardi as approved as a nominee from the city of Manistee, as dictated by the legal paperwork, which I feel we're bound down.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion?
That's another issue I believe that can be addressed in the bylaw review in January.
Yeah, well, I think that's already been addressed by the prosecutor, so I think we're bound by what the prosecutor says. Is that we have to have a city representative on the board.
Any other discussion? Then we'll have a roll call.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Waitner?
Yes.
Mr. Bergstrom?
Yes.
Mr. Hilliard?
Yes.
Mr. Kolchak?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
All right, it's 7:30 and we're going to take a quick.
You have 3 more appointments.
Yep. For the.
3 more appointments to make to the Road Commission, Library Board, and Prison Liaison.
I realize that, but we could, and we want to break, and we'll come back and do those first. When they come back. I'm going to read something to you. It'll take till 11 probably. Okay, this is the road commission. Now, we're after one individual to serve the remainder of an unexpired term from January 1st, 2014 to December 31st, 2014. The vacancy is the result of William Eckhart's resignation. Applicants for the position are as follows, and I think all of you know. We have 7 there. I'll give you the first names. Richard Graham. Well, I guess I don't have to really, because we're the only voters going to be here. But anyway, Gerald Hoff, Gerald Matthews, Bob Rochelle, Tom Smith, Tom Weldon, Robert Worstner. So, now, first of all, if any of those people that I just said, if they want to speak, you're welcome to it. You go to the podium, tell who you are, and maybe a little bit of why you're going to do this, and we'll go on. If nobody wants to do it, we'll go right to trying to get one.
Trying to get one.
That's it. So, that's what we need. We need, who wants to go first? Very good. And we need the name?
Hello again. My name is Jerry Hawk. I'm running for the vacated position in the road commission there. I believe I can bring a lot to the table out there in terms of helping.
Because we got.
Okay. I believe I can help them quite a bit in this coming year and making decisions and so on because of my extensive business background. I retired from PCA about 5 years ago, and I think it's time to start doing something again. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Go ahead.
My name is Tom Walden. I'm fairly new to the area. I'm retired. I applied for the position here. I've owned my own business. I've dealt with employees on both ends, dealt with contracts, labor forces, and payroll, of course, which is a good one. And I volunteered here in the city of Manistee since I've been here as a tutor at Jefferson Elementary School. I am active at the Stronach Township Advisory Committee for the Planning and Zoning. I'm the chair of the Community Builders of Stronach Township. I'm the market manager for the farmers market out there on Scotches Road that we just started last year. And I think I could, help them out here. Just give me some help. Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there anyone else? Go right ahead.
I'm Dick Graham, live in Bear Lake, graduated from Bear Lake High and MSU. I'm a professional engineer and professional surveyor. In my 40 years, I spent about the first half as a city employee. I was Director of Public Works and City Engineer for the City of Mount Pleasant. Spent 14 years in that same role with the City of Troy, where we had over 200 miles of roads to maintain. I was responsible for water, sewer, drains, engineering, traffic engineering, and motor equipment pool. In the motor equipment pool, we specified and recommended to the council for purchase all rolling stock, maintain all of that rolling stock. We also put together a labor management committee that worked out a lot of wrinkles between labor and management. We found that when we got input from the folks that were doing the work and we responded, we could save money. They were happier, and we just had a great boost in morale. I budgeted for that department as well. The last half of my career I spent as a consulting engineer, owned my own company, and again, budgeted, worked with personnel to kind of iron out wrinkles as they came up. That was a non-union place, but we had a labor management committee that really worked out the issues that, again, contributed to quality, contributed to productivity, and contributed to morale. I've been laying around for a while, and I felt that I might be able to contribute something here, and I'll appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Very good. Anyone else that is one of these? Go ahead, Bob.
Yes, good morning. I think it's still morning. I'm Bob Rochelle. I'm retired from Hartsville Track Technology, where I was a certified welder. I've been very active in the township of Stronach and also in the county of Manistee, and planning issues and zoning issues, and I try to stay active in a lot of different areas. I've had a lot of experience in the past. Right now, presently, I have my own computer repair business, and I try to stay active working with people to try to resolve problems and issues that come up. I've been looking at a lot of the things in the paper concerning the road commission, and I just feel that if we have more people in there that can come to the middle and come to some good agreements for the good of the taxpayers of this county, seems like that's what we need to do. It sounds like we've got a good manager now. I met him at our township board meeting the other night. He seems like an honorable man and a good man, and I talked to him, and I'd like to work with him and the other road commissioners to improve the working relationship between the road commission and the taxpayers and the county board. I've got a lot of experience working both in management and in the union, in negotiating contracts and settling disputes, and I just think I could bring a lot to the board, and look forward to working with the county, whether I'm appointed or not. I will continue to be involved, and that's about all I got to say. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bob. Okay, anyone else like to do it? All right. That looks like we have 7. You heard from 4. Here's how we're going to do this. We are not going to make any motion for certain people. What we're going to do is we're simply going to go around, and each one will get a chance to go with one of these 7. And if we don't get 4, we're going to go again. And we're going to keep doing this. I'll tell you each time we do it, so that we don't get into something where there's going to be a problem. So the first thing then is you have right in front of you, everyone, that you can start off with one of those 7. Good enough?
What you should do, Chair, is if we don't get 4 votes for one individual, we should probably eliminate the bottom 2 or 3, and then we vote again.
If everyone voted for each one, that would be 7, and we'd have to start voting. But if it was 4, 3 or 4, or 2 even, then we'd go on from there. So we'll get you both, all of us will get that. So, who's first?
Mr. Waitner?
Based on the extensive tax task-specific knowledge, I'm going to vote for Dick Graham.
Mr. Bergstrom?
Well, first of all, I want to thank all 7 for having the interest to serve the community. That's great. I don't know if we've ever had that many applications before, and it speaks well of members of our community. It speaks well of the community, too. And it's not an easy decision. I think all of you are capable. So you start trying to figure out how you make a decision on this. I start looking at experience, training, education, and I have to at least, I think Mr. Graham probably has the most experience and background at this point in time, so I'm going to go with Mr. Graham.
Mr. Hilliard?
I'm going to echo Mr. Bergstrom's thank you for everyone interested in this position, but I also have to go with Mr. Graham.
Mr. Krolczak?
Okay. I'm going to go with Gerald Hall.
Mr. Marshall?
Richard Graham.
Mr. Schmidt?
I'll go with Gerald Hall.
Mr. Schaefer?
Bob Michelle.
All right, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 votes for Mr. Graham, 2 votes for Ha, and 1 vote for Mr. Michelle.
That was
So we have 4 votes, so Mr. Graham is in this one. Nothing on the
Thank you all.
You're very welcome. This will even be easier. We're going to go on to the library board. We have 1 individual to serve 5-year term beginning January 1st, 2014 and expiring December 31st, 2018. Applicants for the position are as follows. Linda Deasing and Kathy Scarlata. She's the incumbent. We will do the same thing we did with 7. Whoever one of you gals get for first is going to be in for a long, long term. Okay. Do any one or both of you want to get up and go ahead, Kathy?
Hi, I'm Kathy Scarlata, and I'm presently on the board right now and really enjoy being on the board. I think that the library is one of the most important things that the county does. I think that as far as the average resident of Manistee County, the library is something they come in contact with probably more than any other county division. And we're in the middle of some major projects on the board right now, and I'd really like to continue with that and see it through. Thank you.
Very good. Is Linda here?
She is not.
Okay. In that case, we'll start off with, all you have to do is give us Linda or Kathy.
Mr. Bergstrom?
Kathy's doing a good job, and I'll go with Kathy.
Mr. Hilliard?
Kathy Scarlata.
Mr. Krolczak?
Kathy Scarlata.
Mr. Marshall?
Kathy Scarlata.
Mr. Schmidt?
Kathy.
Mr. Schaefer?
Kathy.
Mr. Waitner?
Kathy.
0.
So Kathy got 10 or 12 of them, okay? Well, no, she's the winner, and Kathy, congratulations. Now we have the prison liaison board. We have a prison out on 55, as most of you know, and I would like 3 individuals to serve a 3-year term, beginning immediately and expiring November 30th of 2016. Applicants for the position are as follows: Rosemary Daniels and Thomas Smith. If either of them are here and you want to get up to the podium, go for it. If not, okay. We'll do the same thing with the two. The problem we have, not really a problem, but we need 3 individuals, and we're only getting 2 people that would like the job. So, Rosemary or Ann Thomas. When we get 4, we'll go for another.
So are you doing 1 term at a time?
No, we're going to do it just the way we did. We'll just find out whoever gets 4, then we'll go to the other one. It's pretty obvious that we're not both going to get 4. And probably not.
Mr. Hilliard?
Neither.
Oh.
Mr. Kolchak?
I'll go with Rosemary.
Mr. Marshall?
Rosemary.
Mr. Schmidt?
Rosemary.
Mr. Schaefer?
Rosemary?
Mr. Waitner?
Neither.
Mr. Bergstrom?
Rosemary.
Rosemary Daniels received 5 votes.
Okay. Then we need 3. We only have 2 here. We have already, Rosemary made it. Now Tom Smith is the other one.
What's that? Mr. Kolchak?
Tom Smith.
Mr. Marshall?
No answer. None. No.
Mr. Schmidt?
Tom.
Mr. Schaefer?
No selection.
Mr. Waitner?
No selection.
Mr. Bergstrom?
Trying to figure out how this goes. We don't have enough people to fill all the positions. We're voting on 2, so there isn't really any competition. So if we've got people saying no selection, if the individual gets 3, does that mean they're in, or what? I'm confused.
No. What would happen if number 4 is we have to re-advertise.
What is, can you repeat to me what's what now so far?
Well, Rosemary Daniels was appointed to 1 of the 3-year terms.
Just for Mr. Smith.
This is a vote for Mr. Smith or not,
Okay. And
for another 3-year term.
can you tell me how the votes are so far, please?
I have 2 votes for Mr. Smith and 3 votes, no selection.
Is there more than 7?
Mr. Smith.
Mr. Hilliard?
No. No selection.
No selection. Mr. Smith received 3 votes, and there were 4 no selections.
So does that mean that only Rosemary Daniels is in, or what does that mean?
Yeah, Rosemary Daniels is in, and you'll have to re-advertise for the damn positions.
Okay.
You'd like me to re-advertise for the other 2 positions?
I think that's the best we can do it.
All right. Well, some of you don't know some of these people, but Mark and Tom Kaminsky and Ellen and I do. We had a couple of through 2-3 hours of happiness and stuff with them. And so I'm going to start with Chuck. And he's the Executive Director of the Manistee County Board, the Manistee County Library, and representatives from Quinn Evans Architects will appear before the board to summarize recommendations for the proposed main library, HVAC, lighting, and general renovation project. Okay?
Good morning. You want to get me started there? Oh, Tom's got it.
He's got the master control.
Well, this is exciting. It's been a long process. We've had many meetings, and we're finally moving along. It's been great to work with the Ways and Means Committee. I was here with the full County Commission at your budget work session, and there was some discussion then about the project, and they were concerned about price and that type of thing. But this really gets us to the cusp of taking the next step. There is a library master plan. Some of you who are, this is your first year on the commission, during the break I gave you copies of the mission statement, not mission statement, the strategic plan that was done by AES, and that process took almost a year to get through with community support and interviews and that type of thing, and there's a lot of data in here. The commissioners who have been on before, I think have copies of this. If not, let me know and I can send you an electronic copy. I think Mr. Bergstrom, you already have an electronic copy of this, I believe. Helen sent this to you, possibly? Yes. Okay. But this is in the strategic master plan that was approved September of last year. One of the 5 major goals that came out of that was over the next 3 to 7 years, have a capital campaign and or a bond proposal to expand and modernize where needed, including second-floor bathroom in the main library. The strategy identified prepare asset inventory, develop a plan for capital improvements, expansion, and space utilization, and conduct a fundraising feasibility study. Under the strategies, the 2 things, prepare the inventory and develop the plan, that's where Quinn Evans and GMB Architects and Engineering out of, I believe, Holland. Yeah. And Quinn Evans is out of Ann Arbor with offices in other cities also. That is the process since late August and September, and we started having meetings, and they evaluated our buildings. And there were other things that initially it started as just the HVAC, and I talked to you about HVAC, but there were other things as we started looking that needed to have attention. And Ann is going to give you some detail, and Alice is going to fill in some things also.
Good morning. I'm Ann Dilcher, an architect with Quinn Evans. Coming off of this strategic master plan, our focus is really the attention to this goal and the first 2 strategies that were identified. So really that's the first step that has been successfully completed, and that's the work that we have done with the library in first developing this master space plan that looks at the library and how the library can support the community needs for 20 to 25 years. The library has to work as a library first. So it's looking at the library needs that the community has and what can be done with the library to help grow and support those library needs. The next piece of the master plan is evaluating inventory of the building itself and really addressing what are the physical deficiencies of the building. It has an aged HVAC system. Most of the parts of it are over 40 years old, some only over 30 years old. So that's a piece that's really critical to address to have this library renewed for 25 years. Then there are a few safety concerns having to do with a new construction project on site would require a fire alarm system to be put into the building. Questions, you'll see that goal included a second floor bathroom very specifically, and that is a safety question of having a youth department on the second floor without a bathroom on that floor. And then really a big concern for us in looking at the physical building itself is the lack of accessibility within the building. The shelving, the restrooms, the circulation desk, those are not set up to meet ADA requirements. And so that's something, when we're looking to renew the library, we really want to address to make the library accessible for the whole community. And then finally, it is a Carnegie Library. It's an important historic building in this community that has a lot of important historic buildings. And so that's something it's clear that residents and visitors value about coming to Manistee. So the last piece of the master plan is looking at what are the preservation opportunities in the building. And finally, with this master space plan, we have a plan that we can look at in terms of a construction project, and we can develop a project cost model for implementation of the plan. What needs to what are the fundraising mechanisms, what funds do we need to turn this into a construction project? Thinking. Uh-oh. If you can just page forward, if that would help. Or I can think of it, or I can talk to it. We go through.
Here it goes.
There. We are fast. We only have 6 or 8 slides, 11 slides there. So there we go through. I'll just let you page when we go. There's not too many. We're here. And so talking about looking at a restored and renewed library, what are the community needs? What will the community see in a project like this? Accessibility, modifications to meet ADA, that's a big part of the plan. Additional meeting room space, that strategic master plan that Chuck talked about and handed out to people who didn't have copies, looks at programming. Really, there could be a big need and big growth for programming, especially for teen and adults in the library. They have a meeting room, but it is continually booked, and people are turned away. So that's an important need that the library has seen. Increased collaborative and study space. All the library projects that we're working on, the library, people come to the library to study, and 2 or 3 or 4 people as a place to meet, especially for teens, and just to have that space. And then public computing. Another thing that came out of the report is the use of public computing and the need for public computing in the library, and something that the library can really offer for people who don't have access, don't have computers at home, but want to search for jobs, communicate with other people, things like that. And then looking to improve the youth area and the service for youth. The youth area is very well used in the library, and there are some things we could do in the plan just to add to that experience. And then looking how we can improve where the staff works and their technology with the library. Yep, go ahead.
Last year, the home heating credits that were within the county, we were an access site, because a lot of the people who need this help, they didn't have computers, they didn't have internet. And so they could come in and get the forms, they could print the forms, types of things like that we do. The state cutting back on things, they were sending people to libraries to file for unemployment. So a lot of people think, well, I don't use the library. People don't, I can get everything I want on the internet. But there's a great deal of use of our facilities, all our facilities, but here at Manistee in particular, to access that knowledge and that internet that's out there, and more things are going that way. The government is trying to save money, but people have to get to it. And so that came through in our strategic plan, that there was need to be more access and more product. There are consumable products like videos and music and books that are in electronic format, And we are meeting that demand. We're expanding in those areas and providing that type of technology. But we have people who don't have this technology at home. They come in and still use that technology in-house also.
See you for to the next one. So I'm going to ask you to hit the button a lot coming through this, just because it just will pop out and highlight. This is the main level for people who are familiar. Will notice some differences if you go ahead and hit the next one. We're highlighting on here where we are adding a circulation desk, how we're changing the shelving to meet that ADA function, and one more time, and how we're looking at the opportunity to restore the columns that were in the space. So it's looking at the functional needs and then also looking at some of those preservation needs, but really looking at where we can bring public computing down to this main floor, make it easier for staff to help people at that, and really just renew the library and make it accessible. Keep going. On the upper level, the big change here is with the lower level, you saw the public computing. On this level, we're changing the youth shelving to make the youth shelving ADA accessible as well. The meeting room is enlarged back to its original dimensions to give some added space in there for larger meetings. And then we would be extending the floor on the second level to get a periodical reading room on in this area. Adding a youth librarian workroom so the youth librarian can be upstairs and really more accessible to when youth come into that space. And also adding a accessible restroom on this second floor level. The preservation pieces of it are restoring the skylight. The historic ley light is there. It's beautiful. It would be nice to have light coming through it. And to restore the plaster ceiling in the gallery. Going down to the, you're fine. Going down to the lower level, the changes here are, this is where we add a new meeting room space. It gives a good dedicated space for the literacy program that meets here at the library once a week. Adding an ADA restroom at this level for staff and for that. Adding a dense shelving. You will see, if you were in the library today, opening up that floor plan for study and stacks. We need some more shelving, so that's a dense shelving space. Adding a staff break room space. Adding a dedicated server room that can have its own HVAC. Those computers like to be cold all the time, unlike people. So having a dedicated space for that, and then looking at how we can upgrade the areas that the librarians work in. One of the big factors in the basement is listed on there as raised ceiling and added daylighting. When we go in to put in new HVAC systems, it gives us the opportunity to take their ceiling from a 7'6" ceiling height up to at least an 8'6" and probably higher ceiling height. And also to bring the ceiling that has been dropped. About 2 feet of the windows is covered. And so it gives us the chance to sort of open up and bring a lot more daylight into that level for workspace productivity. All right, if we go on to the cost model. So these were the plans that we had developed in working with Chuck and his staff and our knowledge. Alice is here, who's designed over 70 libraries in Michigan. It's something we really understand. But costing, we always go out to a professional cost estimator for the construction cost of all our projects who has done this. And he really goes through and looks at all the construction costs, making sure the markups are correct in there, that we're including escalation. For those familiar, that's looking at what's going to be the cost of the project when you have to purchase it. Buying it today is one price, but once you get through all your fundraising efforts and all the design and contracting, it's going to be more expensive in another year or two to build a project. So that's built in so that we're raising the right amount of funds. And then also to build in the soft costs, not the construction costs, but the real costs of a project, looking at design fees, looking at phasing costs for, as the library has to move around to do the project within it, there's going to be some cost for storing books, for moving people around in the building or off-site, and then an owner contingency. We really caution all our owners to make sure they have a 10% owner's contingency for things that happen, and if you don't spend it, that's great. And so in this project, looking at sort of the complete project, is a 2.8, including a sprinkler fire suppression system to add safety, brings it up close to a $3 million for this complete project. We did look at how pricing could be broken down and pricing could be phased through the effort, but today we're really presenting what is our complete project goal if the library is really looking to do the full master plan, and that's what they need to start understanding in the last step that was on there, which was the feasibility study, and it gives them a target to understand what they can or cannot do, raise when they go through with the fundraising. So the last slide, Chuck, if you want to speak.
I will speak to this. That feasibility study, that public-private financing, as Ann said, we did have phased, and as the Ways and Means Committee is aware, we had prices on different parts and stuff. But the whole project needs to go forward, and we need to find out through the feasibility study what the community can support and will support. There are professionals that do this work. Several have been mentioned. We would do a thorough study and identify various people who are familiar, particularly with West Michigan, ideally Northern Michigan, but trying to get somebody who can go through our background information that we have in the strategic plan, understand our library, and then go out and get a sense of what is reasonable. Then we can come back after we get that study, and we can come back to the whole commission and say, this is what we found out. We can do so much private fundraising. The library already has this. We may need a millage, and the input that we're receiving is that there's support for a millage, or there could be a support up to this level. So it gives us more nuts and bolts so you can make an educated decision as we move forward. And it will be your decision with the library board. The library board will make some decisions about asking for a millage. You have to approve that. You have to put it on the ballot. Some of the other things that may come out of the process, if there's loans or whatever, those all have to be, since you own the building, you have to be involved in that process. It's a teamwork, it's a team approach. And I'm very, very pleased. At times we just as your meeting earlier today gets a little heated at times, and people have strong opinions. Some of the joint meetings between the library board and the Ways and Means and staff, we are passionate about what we do, and Tom is very passionate about the county and protecting the assets, and I'm very passionate about bringing this library up to where it needs to be to serve the public and what we've heard from the public and what they want. Complete capital campaign financing feasibility study to determine the best combination of funding mechanisms to pursue the project. That's what we want to bring to you. As we discussed yesterday, and I don't know if you had, before I came, did you do committee reports at all? You didn't do that, okay. As we talked yesterday, we were kind of trying to identify next steps, and really the next step is this feasibility, but the library board would like to ask, and it was asked yesterday at Ways and Means, for them to support the project, and also, not financially, but in concept, and then also to possibly assist us in funding this feasibility study. We have estimates of $25,000 to $30,000, and we would like to ask, the library board would like me to ask on their behalf that the county commission fund a portion of that you feel is reasonable. I don't know if committee members have a dollar number in mind. I heard numbers kind of thrown around at the meeting, but I don't want to speak to that. I believe that's more appropriate. But the request is there for some assistance in trying to fund this next step. Any questions?
Are you throwing open for questions now?
Yes.
If the process was to go forward, is there endowment funds available for this? As far as revenue, how far into endowment funds have you looked into?
The library has fund balance that they've designated for the project, and that's about 200. We've used some of that to do some of what the work we've done so far, but there's about 200,000 there. There's another, I believe, 60,000 or 65,000 that was a capital gift, but it wasn't designated for any particular capital project. The board put that aside that could be used for this also. So there are some funds. The Friends of the Library have been collecting money, and they have an amount. They were trying to get up to 50,000. I don't believe they're there. I know they're over 20 as a kickoff donation to any fundraising that's being done. We have talked to the Manistee County Community Foundation, and we also have talked with AES in terms of providing services for grant writing, and those are going to be very important, crucial parts. They were at the meeting yesterday, and we met with them after the joint Ways and Means and Library Board meeting. We sat down with Quinn Evans and the representatives from the AES and the foundation, and talk through the process a little bit. And they really do need a sense from the commission that you're behind the proposal and want to move forward, and so that we can go ahead with the feasibility. And then that feasibility kind of gives them a framework. Maybe Tom can add to that, because we had an extensive discussion. Or you weren't there for that discussion. You weren't there. I'm sorry. But they really feel that needs to, the work needs to be completed, and the resources need to be evaluated, so that then they can help us with that, and in terms of the fundraising, and also provide information that can be given to this commission to make some final decisions on how to proceed.
I support the concept, but I'm curious what the committee comes out with dollar-wise as far as the initial study to see where we can go to receive financing, but it's not a commitment to build it by no means.
It's to understand what sort of resources there are and what the community bear, and to understand then on the plan how full of the plan, if the complete plan can be built, or if there needs to be scaling back of that plan. That's what the feasibility study will really help understand.
I think I was just going to say, I think one thing you just need to understand is that there is a need. We must do something as far as the HVAC system. And that's past its useful life. Now, will that cost $3 million? No. But
the study will dictate
how far you go with this and how much will be supported by the community. We do have to do something. It is a county asset that has to be protected in some way. It's just a matter of how it's funded.
And some things.
And I agree with that in your presentation, being ADA accessible and the use of it is very important to the county. And
well, there are some things in it that donors would be willing to fund. There might be donors out there. There are grants. There was even a foundation that helps restore Carnegie buildings.
Right.
Okay, so they could be applied to for grants and that type of thing. So once the study feasibility comes back, then you start taking some of these parts. But there are other things like the HVAC, the mechanical parts. You're not going to get donors for that. They're more likely to, that's going to have to come from the public portion of the funding equation, and that's where the feasibility study will help us kind of judge those different pots, and there'll be several as to what the resources are. They'll also help us identify people who might help serve on a campaign fund. That's another part of the process that these people, when you hire a firm for feasibility study, that they can identify for you. Those people that might be key donors, but also who are very interested in the project and are community movers and shakers who might get behind it and serve in a capacity to help you gain more visibility and bring more money in. You know, there were people around the table, and we have the library board's accountant, Dave Richards, works with many organizations and communities, and there's a lot of confidentiality, but as he's been talking to various groups, there is interest in the campaign. There's interest in, he can't tell us who and he can't tell us how much, but there is interest out there, and he's very confident that there's going to be a very strong public contribution to the project. He can't put a number on that at this point, but that's what feasibility study will help us.
Well, I believe this first step needs to happen before anything can.
I want to make a motion here that we go ahead as a board and let them do the feasibility study. We need to have that done so we know where our funding is and how much we can afford. So that's my motion, that we go ahead with the feasibility study for the library.
Is there anything you want to add to that?
Well, I'll make another motion after we go over this one, but then I would like to also go to our capital improvement fund and give $5,000 in good faith to the library so they can do their feasibility study, because that's going to be about a $25,000 feasibility study.
If we're going to do a feasibility study, besides looking at a building that's 150 years old, which I love historic buildings, we have to look at, do the people out there in the public want to spend $2.5–3 million to renovate that building or build a new one, first of all? Okay.
Well, this is where the feasibility study is going to come in.
That's what I'm saying.
Because we're going to know how much money we got to work with.
I want to make sure that's addressed. If the people, the taxpayers of this county are putting money into the library, they should, and we're spending $2.5–3 million to renovate a building which is 150 years old. They
Not
should
quite that old.
Well, it's up there. It's over 100, I guarantee you
The
that.
one piece that I do want to speak to that on this is in doing our cost model and looking at the construction cost estimates, that we also look at what's the cost per square foot on that. And for the construction cost piece of that, in our cost model, for the project, it doesn't include some of the preservation work, so let's say maybe a $2.6 million project, but does address all the safety and ADA. The cost per square foot on that came out as $130 a square foot. We've been working on a couple new library projects in Muskegon, and a lot of our work on the other side of the state in terms of libraries, and new library work is at least twice of that, a cost per square foot. So just as a magnitude on looking at that, it is something to consider in other things, but on the cost model side of that, that gives some reference.
I would also like that feasibility study to include collaboration between maybe the high school and the middle school. They got libraries there too, beautiful libraries there too. What would be, why do we need 3 libraries in the city of Manistee when we have, 2 schools, high schools and a middle school with libraries in there also? I mean, let's address that too and see if that's a possibility, maybe combining. I don't know if it's feasible or not, or if it would work or not, but at least look at it.
It's been tried in some communities. There are some communities that do function that way. They are very special circumstances. What we find, even in our own building, we're a maturing community, and there are times when it's like someone hit a button. School's going to get out in 5 minutes. The building empties of the seniors because they don't want to be there for the kids. Okay.
Well, I mean, we should check that out.
I mean, there are those types of things. That's not against the kids. It's not against the seniors. I mean, you raise your kids and you love your grandkids, but be around someone else's kids. And that's part of with the design. We're trying to separate them a little bit and give a little space and do some things.
I think we should check into. I don't think we'd be doing right for the taxpayers here if we didn't check into that possibility.
Charles, I think what Mr. Hilliard is saying is that he thinks that's a good idea to include those in the in the feasibility study.
Have them at least see what the reaction is.
It's got 2 points. One would be, can you build a similar building, new construction, on new utilities, et cetera, at the same price as rehabbing an existing building? So I think that's fair to take a look at that. I don't think you have to, it's got to be reasonable. And then the other is
look at it, let's see it.
And the other is that what kind of cooperation could occur with other libraries in the area. So I don't think that's unrealistic or unreasonable.
A question I anticipate feasibility asked me if we give them this assignment. What Ann was talking about wasn't necessarily with land acquisition costs included. Is there, I mean, this is county land now, is there county land that would be available as a trade-off? So, do we have to look at land acquisition costs, or are you saying land cost neutral? Not trying to take that.
Well, I can tell you in the city of Manistee, there is no land. Obviously, out in the campus that the Sheriff's Department, hospital, and medical care have, there is land out there that's available county land. But there's really nothing that I can think of in the city other than across the street, tearing those buildings down, making libraries or whatever.
Or the land adjacent to the library, that land that we built on that.
Those are the only county-owned pieces of land that I can think of right off the top of my head.
Yeah, one of the things that I see is, you look up there at the map, and the county library says in the Manistee, it's going to come down probably to request a millage from the county-wide millage. So in this feasibility study, you also have to address how are we going to get the rest of the county, which doesn't necessarily get any real benefit from the library being in Manistee City.
There are some selling points, but they have to be made. Okay. For example, you were very instrumental out in Wellston. Wellston doesn't stand alone. Wellston relies a great deal on this library. One, to process the materials, to purchase the materials, to purchase the supplies, to bring out the things. So there are a lot of core services that come from the main library that take care of the 5 outlying branches. And so there's a relationship there. We buy the materials and turn them over. If they were on their own trying, like the Bear Lake is a joint effort of the Bear Lake Village, Bear Lake Township, and Pleasanton Township. If they tried to run their own library, they would have maybe 20% of the materials available in a given year, and they wouldn't have any stock turnover. And so those types of things need to be shared. There are other things that we've kind of kicked around. It wasn't in Quinn Evans' purview, it was in their study to look at what the other fiscal needs are there. So relationships are different. Just as we have a relationship with Norman Township, there's each locale. So it's not like we don't own those buildings, but there are some things that could be done that I'm already thinking about when we talk to the feasibility people, to explore concepts with what they would feel would be improved services that maybe we could augment what they already have, and so they see that as a part. Now, those things are not priced in this at this point.
I understand that.
But some of those things may be able to come through grants. If someone says, I'll give you $100,000 for the main library, but I want to know that there's something happening in the branches, and I'll give you $50,000 to accomplish it, then that's over and above what we already were figuring for the project, and we may be able to do some of these other things. So we still have a lot of work, and we need everyone in this room to work together to identify those things and keep moving forward.
I would just hate to see an initiative be defeated because it relied on the countywide to pass it, and the countywide said, well, that's great, but they have a brand new library in Manistee City, and we don't want to pay for it.
Well, I think there's some.
You're right. You have to get the message out that building's the engine that drives the little cars out the.
And find out what the issues are. I mean, I can come up with some other things, but they may not be what the feasibility study finds out that people out there that are willing to give some money or give support or would vote for want. They may want something else. One of the things, for example, Arcadia. When we moved from the township hall to the community center, they went from 16 hours to 18 hours a week they wanted more, but that's all we could do at the time. Now, with our budget this year, we've cut them back to 16 hours because we just didn't have the budget this year to keep them at that higher level. And there are times of the year, in the summer, it's moving. This time of year, there are fewer people. So we have, the library board has to look at the budget and make tough decisions. But they would like more hours. We have the Wellston branches only open 4 days a week. The other 3 branches are all 5-day-a-week operations. So there could be something in hours, but then that's putting more squeeze on the operational budget, and the millage currently isn't sufficient for that. So there's a lot of, we've got to get a lot more information before we can really come back.
I think the point that Mr. Schaefer is making is a good point, is can you pass a millage with just the city of Manistee?
We cannot.
Okay. So his point about making sure you've got some voters out in the hinterlands there that will support this, and that has to be built into your feasibility study, so that you're finding out what people are excited about.
Gentlemen, as a point of order, in the interest of time, there is a motion on the floor by Commissioner Schmidt to move forward with the feasibility study. I would like to support that and move forward, please.
Okay, is there any
to encourage, it would actually be the library board that would probably make that decision, but you're encouraging them to continue and also
seed money, but that's a separate, I guess.
Appropriating up to $5,000 towards that cost. Is that what I heard earlier?
Yeah.
Yes.
And, we're going to go on with this, but just so some of you that were asking questions, the most important thing over at that library is the heating furnace or whatever you want to call it. And then from there, if there's anything that we can do, that's something else. If we want that in the city, I think that's one of the big things. But anyway,
ADA issues are also, the more I think about it, ADA issues are very important also.
Yeah. Now, James over here has got, he's, I don't know, he's got a wedding or something to be touring. No, but,
question.
Yeah, I know we have something on the floor there, but we'll get to you real quick. So, more discussion?
Would you repeat the motion?
I'd like to motion to do a feasibility study for the library and appropriate up to $5,000 for the cost of it from
I think you got to add the word support a feasibility study. The county's not doing the feasibility study, the library board's doing the feasibility study.
Okay.
The way I had it kind of written down is to encourage the library to proceed with a feasibility study on the proposed renovation project.
You can almost say support.
And to authorize up to $5,000. Is that?
Okay.
Or support rather than encourage.
Now we're going to have more.
Everybody got that motion? Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Waitner?
Yes.
Mr. Bergstrom?
Yes.
Mr. Hilliard?
Yes.
Mr. Kolchak?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That was unanimous.
Now we get the real big stuff.
We got to break the lunch now, James.
Chuck, you have your...
Yes, I did. Okay.
I'm on vacation right now. I can't think of anybody else.
Just for your information, Mr. Barker did put the annual report on your desk. I believe it's probably the same.
It's the same thing.
Same thing as what the other screen.
Well, thank you for inviting me here.
Expedited meeting?
Yeah. I can talk really quick.
This is our annual report for West Shore Medical Center for our fiscal year 2012 and 2013. Our fiscal year ends June 30, so we go forward. This, our current leadership at the hospital, our board of trustees has not changed for some time. Dr. Botzer, Clara Sari, Kelly Parks, John Hope, Dr. Ben Hingy, Beth McCarthy, Joel Meister, Sue Myers, and Isla Marie Prickett. The medical staff officers are Joel N. Holt is our chief of staff, and you can see the other ones are our section chiefs. And the administrative staff is, I'm here as president, and Don Limmer's here with me today. He's the chief operating officer and vice president of finance. Tom Kane was a new hire for us this year. He came in April as our vice president of patient care. Tom is over the clinical things that are happening, inside the hospital. Diane Banks works with our performance improvement, and Maria Somsel is vice president of organizational development and human resources. Here's a statement of cash flows for the year ending June 30th. You can see 2012 on the right side. If you go all the way down the bottom, cash and investments at the end of the year of 2012 was $26,155,000. Our operating activities this year in 2013, we spent a little over $4 million on capital and related financial activities. Investment activities, purchase of investments, about almost $1 million. Our net increase or decrease in cash, we increased our cash this year by $2.3 million. So the cash beginning of 2012 was $3 million. The cash, at the end of 2012, and the cash at the end of fiscal year 2013 was improved quite a bit. It had $7.5 million. Cash at the end of the year, $9.8 million. So with investments, our cash investments at the end of the year, we improved by about $1 million, $27,268,000.
So you're doing quite well, even though you lost the designation, is that correct?
Yep, we'll get to that.
No, we actually haven't lost the designation
Right.
yet.
Oh, okay. So
December 31st, though. Yeah. And that's the fiscal year of 2013. So anyway, operating results, it's a lot of the stuff from the first page. Our total operating revenue this last year was about $58 million. You can see our expenses. Our expenses went up here. You can look at supplies. They went up almost $2 million. That's because of the addition of our cancer center. Cancer drugs are incredibly expensive. And almost all of that increase right there in supplies are cancer drugs. Professional fees, we've added physicians' offices in the cancer center, and that's what drives up professional fees and outside services more. So total operating expenses of $56 million. Our net income from operations was about $2 million. If you look back up here, electronic health record revenue, the government has a program called Meaningful Use. We had to spend, I think, about $4.5 million on computer equipment over the course of the last 2 or 3 years. And so we got about $2 million of it back. So, and that's about all we're going to get back. When we hit the next stage of meaningful use, which is the last stage that will give us any money back, it's only going to be about $250,000. But we haven't attested to that yet. So income from operations about $2 million. Non-operating income, loss from investments is almost $500,000 last year. So our increase in our net position, about $1.5 million. So our net position at the end of the year is almost $33 million. So here's the critical access issue. You know, September of 2012, the government called us and told us that we were going to lose our status. We retained outside legal help from a firm in Baltimore to help us work through this, but by the time it was over, it was clear that we were not going to retain critical access status. Critical access status helps smaller hospitals capture some additional Medicare reimbursement. So really this line here where it says the financial impact of loss of Medicare reimbursement, that shouldn't really read that. Probably a better way to say that would be a reduction of Medicare reimbursement. But the reduction that we're probably going to realize going forward is about $5 million a year in reduced Medicare reimbursement. Of course, we'll still take Medicare patients, we still do all that stuff, but that's the financial impact of us for the critical access. So that's a big deal. Sorry?
There's no other measures that necessarily turn that around? Is that designation phasing out, or is it something different?
The federal government is talking about beginning to phase that designation out, and I think we're the guinea pig. I forgot how many, there's about 1,200 critical access hospitals in the United States. So we're the first, I think, that gets to go through this. We are a large critical access hospital. Our net revenue was close to $60 million. There's a whole lot of critical access hospitals who have a net revenue of $10 million or less.
So they'd be impacted a whole lot.
They would probably go up. Yeah. It would be incredibly devastating to them. But this is devastating. You know, that's $100,000 a week to us. That's a big deal.
James, I have one
Yes, sir.
question, if I could. The additional $5 million that you've gained in the years since 2009, most of that money, I'm asking, in the big picture, did you use it as expansion in the equipment costs, or did you have to use a lot of that or a percentage of that to just keep maintaining operations?
Both. Both. Yeah.
Any percentages? Or?
Well, we spend about $4.5 million a year on capital expenditures every year. We've kept up on technology. We've done incredibly well.
Right.
You know, with the hospital, with that type of thing. And even this year, you know, by the way, Mr. Ferguson, the end of this month, December 31st, is our last day as a critical access hospital. So January the 1st, which is halfway through our fiscal year, is when we convert back. So what we've done is, of course, is we've had to do a lot of work at the hospital and reduce expenses, but you can't reduce your way out of this. We have to grow our market share also. But with the plans we put on place, our first year, we're trying to reduce our expenses by close to $4 million this first year. We budgeted this fiscal year to lose some money, about $400,000. And if we could do that or break even, we'd have a really good year. That'd be really good for us. So, our strategic plan, what we do with our strategic plan is we divide it into 3 areas. We have quality, patient experience, and access. And Ms. Nowak, we go to the next one. This is quality, first part of the quality. We try to achieve optimal outcomes through continuous quality improvement. So that first section there is interesting, to demonstrate continuous improvement on CMS, which is Medicare, core measures. Medicare says on these 2, 4, 6, 7 things here, you need to, there's certain things you need to do, like when a patient has congestive heart failure and they come in the hospital, you have to do these things. And if you do those things, we'll give you this much reimbursement. If you don't do those things, we're going to cut your reimbursement by about 1 or, well, it's getting ready to be up to 2%. So on each one of those, we need to make sure that we're practicing it the way that the federal government says on Medicare patients you're supposed to do it. The second piece is maximize patient safety. So of course and now it's flu season, hand hygiene is huge. So we measure hand hygiene. We have people that go around the hospital and nobody knows who they are, and they watch to see if people are washing their hands every time they go in a room or out of the room, that type of thing. Patient identification is a big deal. If you come in the hospital and you're going to have surgery, we want to make sure that's you, that's the surgery you're supposed to have, all that type of thing. We don't want to pass a bill unless we've identified you. Care transitions, when somebody from radiology comes and picks you up, we want to make sure they're getting the right patient. We also want to make sure that if you need oxygen, they're taking oxygen, all those types of things. Antibiotics, catheter-associated urinary tract infections, these are all things that we do a whole lot of work on this year in our strategic plan. Improve the culture of safety. The next 2 things is we take a survey every year to see how the associates at the hospital feel that we're doing on safety projects.
Is any of that onerous, or is it really good practice?
It's good practice.
Cost more money,
Yeah. The thing about, the pressures on healthcare over the last 5 years, they've been in 2 areas. Quality, which is great, but you have to add people with quality. So you're not adding clinical staff, you're adding quality people to monitor quality indicators. And the second piece is that computer piece of it. We just spent, $4.5 million on computer systems over the last several years, and then you got to have the people to run them and keep them going and all that kind of stuff. So our budget on computers is huge, huge. So
keeping track of all the stuff you have to report.
Keeping track of all the stuff we have to report is full-time jobs, full-time jobs. Continuing on, 2.1, establish the hospital as a provider of choice in the community. So this is under the patient experience piece. So patient satisfaction inside the hospital, we measure 5 different things: the inpatient, emergency, outpatient services, rehab, and then same-day surgery. We use a firm called Health Streams. We used to use Presgani. One of the cost-cutting measures we did is we switched to Health Streams this year, and we're actually getting a better product through that. But they actually call our patients. We used to send out a survey and hope that somebody would send it back. But these are phone calls. Let's see, and then we operate some physician offices, and so we monitor patient satisfaction in those areas also. So for develop and engage an accountable workforce, we're going to do a physician engagement survey this year, physician satisfaction survey. Human resources, we wanted to make sure, this is the second year in a row, we wanted to keep it on here that we're doing our evaluations in a timely manner and that people have the opportunity to get their evaluation done on time. We had to redo a lot of job descriptions. Actually, we looked at every single one of them, updated, as well as staff competencies. So those were goals to complete at a certain time this year. Incident reporting. One of the most important things that a hospital does is when you have an issue, no matter how small, we should do an incident report on it. If a patient's going to have surgery at 8 a.m. and they're scheduled to get 9 medications at 9 a.m., well, they're not going to get those medications. They're in surgery getting that. But we should still do a small incident report on that and say, medications weren't giving. We need to track. We track lots and lots and lots of things in the hospital. We look for trends. If we have any types of issues, we try to look for trends. And we now have that electronic, so it makes it a whole lot easier to look for trends and anything we can do and get in front of it in case we have an issue. So that's a big deal to us. Let's see. And another goal is, we hired about this time last year a new executive director for our healthcare foundation, and she's been making a real push this year for employee giving toward the foundation. So we set some goals on that. And then the last thing, which is provide access to care for the community. We continue to recruit physicians. Primary care is the biggest deal. We are still trying to recruit at least one more internal medicine physician to work in the clinics and in the hospital. We have already, this year, our goal was to recruit 3 more primary care providers. We've gotten another nurse practitioner and another physician assistant. One of them just started and the other one starts in February, which is great. So really to hit that goal, we want to get that one more internal medicine doctor is what we're trying to do here. And these here, a while ago we talked about reducing expenses. The other thing we have to do is we need to increase our service volume. We need to capture more of our market. So we're looking at things like urology. We just added urology. And so we're tracking urology, wound care. I'll talk about those 2 things in just a minute. So our outpatient rehab, laboratory, and imaging, we're tracking those to see if with the addition of going out south of town to Manistee Wellness, we added out there. We want to see that we get a bump in those services, not just shift business out there, but an increase overall. Increase our market share, our inpatient and outpatient business in general surgery, orthopedic surgery, medicine, and cardiac medicine. This is a 5-year goal. We need to maintain a 3% operating margin. All the literature, anybody tells you in the healthcare business, you got to be making a margin every year. And that's what funds those things you were talking about, Alan. Being able to do those things. Being able to buy the piece of equipment. Being able to do those things. Being able to replace your carpet and all that kind of stuff that y'all have to deal with all the time, too, with all your buildings. And we want to maintain 165 days cash on hand, and we're better than that now, but those are 5-year goals. Receive all incentive payments. We get incentive payments from Priority Health and Blue Cross Blue Shield, if we do a lot of those things that were on that first page where it talked about, you know, the congestive heart failure, pneumonia, doing all those types of measures too. These are our two largest insurance payers. They have incentives also that we can hit, which are big deals if you hit those incentives. New providers that we added in fiscal year of 2013, Dr. Charles Keolian is a urologist. We've recruited for a urologist for over 20 years. And Dr. Keolian's brother has a place in Pierport. And he's been going to visit him, and he thought on a Sunday one day, you know, I really like this around here. And he drove down to look at the hospital, and then he called us the next day. So we'd love to say that we worked hard to recruit Dr. Keolian, but he was in the right time of his life to come here. Huge addition to Manistee. Huge, huge, huge. We have a lot of patients that had to leave this county to go for urology services. Dr. Greg Bond is a general surgeon. He has over 20 years experience. He is also nationally known as a wound care specialist. He goes around the country speaking on wound care. So that's going to be something that we're going to work on that market real heavy here also real soon. We added Amy Kane, who's a nurse practitioner. She works across the street in our building there with Dr. McComb and Weiner across the street, across 31 from us. And also Katie Dye, who's in that same office over there. And Dr. Julie Phelps, a new internal medicine doctor who started. So we had a really nice recruiting year. Very nice. New technology and services. We added a new nuclear medicine camera. If you could see what our old one used to do, which was a nice camera, compared to what our new one would do, it's unbelievable difference. And this is for when they're doing stress tests and those types of things. When they put the dye in you and they want to look and see how different vessels are and how your heart may be functioning, those types of things. And this here is the Manistee Wellness Center. We already are drawing blood there and doing lab services there, but with the critical access issue, we weren't able to do physical therapy or x-ray. But January the 3rd, we'll start doing physical therapy and x-ray there. That's a Friday. So we'll start on Friday, January 3rd. I think that's the end of it. Anyone have any questions?
Well, actually, you hit it a couple of times talking about the outpatient managing, and then you talked about the wellness center. And I was curious how that physical relationship at that location is.
You know, they're doing really well out there. The Crystal Lake Clinic is very busy, along with Central Wellness. That's a nice. Well, a lot of you toured that before it opened. That's a really nice complex out there. We're excited about starting our operations out there. We think we can pull more from the southern area or the northern area of Mason County. We get a good bit of patients out of that area.
That collaborative group out there is unique.
It is.
And it just feel surely positive.
Oh, it's very positive. And it is unique. You're right about that. We're excited about our future, actually. We have more work to do. But
That collaboration is noted in Lansing too.
yes. Oh, really? Good. Anything else? Thank you very much for allowing me to come and babble for a little while.
Thank you.
Very good. Take care.
Here's your
Oh, Karen will be on my case.
You'll be in trouble.
I know who.
I'll see you guys on Thursday.
I'll see you on Thursday. And by the way, if I can comment on that, we appreciate you coming, and we appreciated Furman East to come, a member of the county commission coming to our board meetings. I think it's very good.
Well, I enjoy myself too.
Yeah. We're not such a bad crowd.
What kind of food do they have, Jim?
Yeah.
What's that? What kind of food do they have?
No,
But you can find
bring your own shit.
Yeah,
Cereal downstairs.
Yeah. If you can find the kitchen, you go through this way and that way and look. But I've done it. Not every day. They have pretty good food. Okay, Tom, what do you want to do? It's probably, right now, the
you probably-
pizzas are probably getting cold.
You do need to recess at noon now, have lunch with your employees and recognize those that were mentioned earlier. You do have all your committee reports to do yet. Set your organizational meetings, so I would suggest that you recess now until 1:30.
Can we just close this room off and...
Yeah,
we're gonna lock it up.
We can lock it up.
Mark?
Finance?
Is Mark doing so? Is it Kyle? Not Mark.
Okay, here we go,
I
yep.
thought you said Kyle.
Oh, no, I did.
I did say that. Who knows?
Okay, so, let's see here, we're doing the finance report, is that right?
Yep.
Okay, I thought so. Yep, all
Hey.
right. All right, we do hereby send our claims from November 12th, 2013 through December 10th, 2013, totaling, let's scroll up here again, totaling $513,275.68, and total payroll for that period of it's two payrolls, November 12 and December 10, 2013, is $470,343.30. And with that, make a motion to approve the. Should you go down further? Excuse me, to approve the finance report and to pay the bills in the amount of $513,275.68.
I'll make that motion.
Wait a second. Mr. Bergstrom said he already made the motion.
No, I was encouraging.
Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. Supported by Mr. Wood.
And we don't have, do we have any, anybody want to say anything about that? Then let's go.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Waitner?
Yes.
Mr. Bergstrom?
Yes.
Mr. Hager?
Yes.
Mr. Kolchak?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Oh, I ate too much pizza, I'm getting a little sleepy. Okay. So do we go on now? Do you want to go on to the Ways and Means Committee?
Yep.
Yep. All right. Okay, I'm going to do something a little different this time, and I think it's going to be helpful. I think it'll reduce questions a little bit. Okay. Scroll down here. We get to, okay. Mr. Shimke, who happens to be here. Good to see you, Bruce. Merry Christmas. Mr. Shimke presented the bids received for the upgrades being proposed to the Sheriff's Department jail HVAC boiler system. It's in Appendix A of your packet. The bids were as follows. Arms & Coal, Inc., Traverse City, Michigan, $175,150. ABI Mechanical Contractors, Traverse City, Michigan, $176,800. Mr. Shimke and Mr. Kaminsky explained that they feel Arms & Coal, Inc. had a conflict of interest since their company is a division of Hearst Mechanical, who is the engineer for the project. Since the bids were so close, Mr. Shimke and Mr. Kaminsky recommended ABI Mechanical Contractors, even though their bid was slightly higher due to the conflict of interest with Arms & Coal, Inc. The bids came in over budget, and Mr. Shimke explained this was due to the cost of the control system. And with that, Mr. Schmidt recommended that ABI Mechanical Contractors be awarded the bid for the Sheriff's Department jail HVAC boiler system project at a cost not to exceed $176,800, being paid from the Capital Improvement Fund. No alternative recommendation was proposed, and I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. Okay.
Open for discussion.
Yeah, I was curious on the Arms and Coal and then ABI Mechanical, and then you talked about the conflict of interest on the lower bid because of the engineering. Both of them are under separate divisions, whether one's an engineering firm and the other's a contractor firm. And I realized very little difference in prices, but I'm not so sure that dictates a conflict, in my opinion, that's all.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I mean, just kind of make sure that there's nobody thinking that way, because it's, in a sense.
when Mr. Shimke had the pre-bid meeting, several of the contractors, and there were about 6, I believe, that initially looked at the project. We only received 2 bids for whatever reason. A couple of them asked specifically whether or not, asked the engineer who was assisting Mr. Shimke through the walkthrough if they were going to bid, and they said no. And because there was concern from other contractors. And turns out they did bid. In a way, we're happy that they bid because it actually makes it a little easier to judge whether you received a good price or not by getting 2 prices rather than just 1, because it is about $25,000 to $30,000 over budget, and we kind of knew that may happen. We weren't sure how much more it would be, but the fire marshal required different control work and some damper stuff that is beyond me. If you have any specific questions regarding that, Bruce is here to answer those. But ABI Mechanical was very concerned about that even before we opened the bids.
Wasn't there some concern too, or the reason there wasn't so many bids was that it's kind of a difficult job, plus everybody who works there has to pass some sort of screening that they're not.
Right. Well, first of all, in order to work in a jail, you're right, anyone, there's a process that the sheriff's department will go through to allow anyone to work in the jail.
Yeah,
do a background check. And then also, as Bruce has mentioned, the sheriff has mentioned, jails are not the easiest places to work, and that can drive prices up a little bit too, because there's unknowns. Obviously, there's not the crawl spaces and different things that are in regular buildings. Is that pretty accurate?
Right. Most of this work they required, because of the controls are in the jail, in a secure area, so that's where that pricing was, brought up because of that.
Now, you may ask where the extra money's coming from. It will come from the capital improvement fund. We haven't budgeted all the money that's available in the capital improvement fund, and so down the road it may affect other projects. You approved $5,000 today from the capital improvement fund to help the library. That's an unbudgeted expenditure, but if everything goes well, we'll still have money left in the capital improvement fund at the end of the year, and be able to do other projects next year if everything goes well. We don't have any major projects planned that I can think of, other than this project. This is probably our major project for the year.
Bruce, what does ABI stand for?
I'm not sure. That's just the name of the mechanical contractor of the company name.
Okay.
I think it's American Builders Incorporation or something like that.
Close enough.
Are there any energy savings on this at all? I don't know if we asked that before.
There will be, yes.
In terms of operating costs and things?
We'll be going from a very low efficiency system to a very high efficiency system. The system we're using is 20-some years old, so.
Okay, so is that going to, I'm just wondering how significant that is. Are we talking $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 in savings?
We'll have to monitor it for, 12 months.
Okay.
But we are looking at, going from, the boilers going from a 70% efficiency rating to a 95% efficiency rating.
Which is significant. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what the payback is on that.
Also, we will get some rebates through Consumers Power and DTE Energy because of the boilers and the efficiency ratings. We will get rebates on that.
Okay, well, keep us posted on that too. That'd be interesting to know.
We monitor those costs in our office through a system through the National Association of Counties. So the Green Team gets regular reports on that.
Okay. All right.
So they will, actually, since Julie started, Julie is just getting started catching up on that. But Rachel regularly gave reports on the courthouse savings and the other buildings. And since Julie took over, we're just kind of teaching her that process.
I was going to say, I don't remember seeing any reports on that.
Well, Julie's been here almost a year now, and we're starting to get back into that again.
That would be good information. We got to vote. Okay.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Waitner?
Yes.
Mr. Bergstrom?
Yes.
Mr. Hilliard?
Yes.
Mr. Kolchak?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
No.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
6 to 1, passed.
Okay, moving on. Sheriff Kolakowski and Captain Lancaster appeared before the committee to request approval to transfer $3,242.28 from the jail contingency surplus fund, line item 216-0039.021, for the purpose of installing window tinting in various areas of the jail. This is internal, not external. It's for privacy or surveillance purposes. The uncommitted balance in the jail contingency surplus fund is $29,468.45. An estimate from All Season Window Tinting, Inc. was provided, and it was noted that they were able to provide a lower price due to the window tinting that will be done at the courthouse. So in other words, there's some cost savings because they already have a job here. With that, Mr. Kolchak recommended that $3,242.28 be transferred from the jail contingency surplus fund, line item 216-00-390.021, to the general fund to install window tinting in various areas of the jail. No alternative recommendation was proposed. I'd entertain a motion to approve that.
I'll make the motion to approve the window tinting and the money coming out of the sheriff's contingency surplus fund.
Full support. Is that the total cost, the $3,242?
Yes.
Okay. I was confused as to whether or not the $29,000 was the cost or the $3,000.
No, that's their surplus.
That's how much they have available in their surplus.
Yeah, I know, but I wasn't really clear here as to what the cost was.
It's really, it's about a couple of offices in the jail itself, and it's just so that the inmates cannot see. Well, you should know this stuff. The inmates cannot see. Okay, inmates cannot see.
Mainly around the control room area.
Right.
Yeah, but that's what it is.
We did receive a better price because it's being done, it will be done in conjunction with, this is the same company that's doing the courthouse that you accepted the bid on, and so we received a better price as a result.
So it's kind of a nice little arrangement there. All right. Moving on.
Yes.
Oh.
Mr. Waitner?
Yes.
Mr. Bergstrom?
Yes.
Mr. Hilliard?
Yes.
Mr. Kolchak?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Thank you.
This next one's a little bit complex. I don't know if Tom's had any something out on this, but the committee considered funding options available under the Secure Rural Schools and Self-Determination Act, and that was also in Appendix C of your packet. Mr. Kaminsky informed the committee that since 2008, the county had to decide annually whether to use the county's portion of those funds for Title I, Title II, or Title III projects, and they chose Title III projects. Under a new law, the funding has been extended for one more year, and the county must choose to accept either a 25% payment or the full payment amount. Mr. Kaminsky explained funds are based on the sale of timber harvested on federal lands. If the county accepts a 25% payment, the schools and the townships will receive a 75%, 25% split, and the county receives none of the money. If the county accepts the full payment, 15% will be taken off the top to be used for either Title II or Title III projects. 75% goes to area schools, and 25% will be dispersed to only those townships that have federal land, and the townships must use those funds for roads. So, Mr. Kaminsky reminded the committee that the county board approved an agreement between the Manistee County Board of Commissioners and Michigan State. Oops, what the heck, I jumped here. No, that's right. Mr. Kaminsky reminded the committee that the county board approved an agreement between the Manistee County Board of Commissioners and Michigan State University to use Secure Rural Schools Title III funds, approximately $16,000 per year, to continue the MSU Extension FireWise community program. Mr. Kaminsky recommended the county accept the full funding from the state of Michigan under the Secure Rural Schools and Self-Determination Act, with 15% dedicated to Title III projects. So, believe me, that was a long discussion when we were talking about this. Instruction recommended that Manistee County choose to accept full funding from the state of Michigan under the Secure Rural Schools and Self-Determination Act, with 15% dedicated to Title III projects. No alternative recommendation was proposed. And I'd entertain a motion to that.
I'll make the motion.
That's, Title III is what we normally did, right, in the past?
Yeah.
What this is this is all based on, as it said, as Mr. Brixham just read, it's all based on the federal government cutting timber on federal lands. And they give us some choices each year as to how we want to accept that money. We went through a long process back in 2008 where this was, obviously, just reading that is very confusing, and I'm not even sure that we're stating everything exactly correct when we make those statements. But we went through a long process where we had phone conversations with the federal government, the Forest Service, other counties were involved, and we each had to decide what was best for our community. At that time, the County Board of Commissioners chose to take the full payment amount. When you take the full payment amount, or the state payment amount, we probably receive a little bit less PILT revenue, payment in lieu of taxes revenue from the federal government that would normally go to our general fund, but we substantially increase what goes to the schools and to our townships that have federal lands in the form of that. They actually receive more funding. If the county board was only thinking of its general fund, we would accept the 25% payment, and the schools and townships would suffer. There would be road funding that would suffer. The short version of this is that this is the best deal for the entire county as far as funds coming into our community. And Russ put together, we didn't have this at the Ways and Means meeting, but Russ put together, that I just gave to you, is the amount of Title I funds that have gone to the townships and school districts in our county, or actually, obviously, Meesick and Freesoil are not in our county, but their school district does come over to Manistee County a little bit. And you can see K&D schools alone received $465,805 since 2008 in funding as a result of this. Just by accepting the full payment amount, we also are able to have some Title III funds available that pay for our Firewise prevention program and our it assists with the CCWPP or whatever. It's the fire prevention program. There's another plan that's being done. Wildfire protection, community protection plan or something like that. And we wouldn't have those funds otherwise. Now, we have a lot of funds left over because we don't spend them all, but Title III also allows for such things as search and rescue. If there's a federal forest land fire, if we have a fire and I think we can use it to fight federal forest land fires. So if we have a forest fire in this county, we're going to have Title III funds available that will help reimburse probably fire departments and the sheriff's department and any kind of rescues that go on. Obviously, we don't know if that'll ever occur, and we were very much in danger of having to send a lot of that money back to the federal government, but since they extended the program now, we continue to keep that money in our trust and agency account, and Russ has to provide reports to the federal government on how we spend that money. So,
Can money be used to buy, like, firefighting equipment?
I don't believe so. No,
It can always be used to reimburse expenses.
We're very limited in what we can spend that money for, and we'll probably end up sending a lot of that money back to the federal government at some point, but really, I think when that happens, the Forest Service actually gets that money and they can use it, so.
They have to use it in their...
So I think, I don't know, I don't have all those details, but right now, that money is still in our possession, other than the money, we spend $16,000 a year contracting with MSU Extension for a Firewise protection program, or prevention program.
What happens to the money with, like, Freesoil schools there that no longer has a school?
You know, that's a good question. If Russ was here, I don't know where he sends that money. Maybe it goes to, maybe Mason County Eastern is now the school district.
It is.
That's probably
elections, we have some Granite Township residents that are in Mason County Eastern School District now.
John, why is
So
the
it's that.
distribution level to the K&D schools so much higher than everyone else?
They have more federal forest lands.
It's based on. I knew there was an answer, I just wanted to know.
It's a big school.
You know, when you look at some attachments there, you'll see Grand Traverse County, I think they get $2 a year. We get hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Gotcha.
We actually get more than 100 and less than 350, so that puts us in a category to make this choice. And if you took no action today, the state government's going to assume that you're accepting the full payment. So technically, I wouldn't even have to send a letter, but I will send a letter. I think it's due on the 19th. They don't give me much time to answer this stuff. Normally, this is done in August or September, but Congress waited a long time before they acted on this. They had a lot of other irons in the fire this year, I think.
Tom, there's no Bear Lake School here, and yet I do think that they got somewhat, at least years ago they did, that had some...
I don't think there's any, there must not be any federal forest lands. There may be state lands.
That's probably what it was.
But I don't think there's any federal forest lands in those.
But they used to have a lot of...
they'd be listed here otherwise.
Yeah.
Okay, support on your motion.
In the best interest of, you get more out of it.
This is a better deal for the schools and the townships, and we suffer very little consequence as a result of it. Our general fund doesn't get hit real hard.
We still need roll call.
Mr. Bergstrom?
Yes.
Mr. Hilliard?
Yes.
Mr. Kolchak?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Waitman?
Yes.
Okay, the committee considered a lease agreement between the District Health Department number 10 and Manistee County for the building located at 385 3rd Street in Manistee, which consists of approximately 5,400 square feet of office space, and that's in Appendix D in the packet. This agreement has not changed since it was last signed in January 2013. The agreement was put in place in 2003 to recognize the value of space the county provides to public health. The Health Department does recognize the value of space in the budget. However, no funds are transferred between entities. This lease indicates that the lessee and lessor agree that the value of rent for office space is $18.50 per square foot. The term of the lease is for 1 year, commencing on January 1, 2014, and terminating on December 31, 2014. Mr. Kolchak recommended approving the lease agreement between Manistee County and District Health Department number 10 for the building located at 385 3rd Street in Manistee, commencing on January 1, 2014, and terminating on December 31, 2014. No alternative recommendation was proposed. Entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to sign the lease agreement in Manistee County and District Health Department.
No second.
Okay, do we have anything to say to those that work at the District 10?
I think this helps them in terms of generating a local match. That's the benefit.
No money exchanges hands. If it did, we would be charging them a lease payment and turning around and paying them back for it. So in our appropriation. This puts all 10 counties, without getting into the history, and I can go on all afternoon on the history, but without going into a long dissertation about this, this puts all 10 counties on an equal playing field as far as what is being charged for rent and the appropriation process. It was very unfair in the past, I'll just put it that way. And we received credits as a result of the way we were doing it, and other counties had to pay more over the years, and it was a long discussion and agreement that took place over the last 10 years, and now everyone's on equal playing field. And these leases just express that so that the health department can leverage that money with the state, show that value.
So all the other counties are doing this too?
All the counties within District 10 are signing leases very similar to this.
Yes.
And to make sure I have the right building in place, we also bought the building which capitalized on the parking lot for them also. Is that the same building, same parking lot?
Yes. If you wouldn't have bought the building, the building the AES is in right now, you would have, you wouldn't have owned 99% of that parking lot. So.
Okay.
Mr. Hilliard?
Yes.
Mr. Kolchak?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Waitman?
Yes.
Mr. Bergstrom?
Yes.
Okay, that's it for action items on the Ways and Means Committee meeting. There are some other items that are not requiring board action. I'm not going to go into those unless you want to discuss them. I'm sure that you read over them. Pardon?
We all have that.
Good. Any questions on the rest of the committee meeting? Okay, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Support. All right.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We are now at the,
Were there two Ways and Means? Maybe there's only one.
Well,
Okay.
there was a Ways and Means Committee
Library
meeting
one?
yesterday. We don't have a written report on that yet, but it was basically
No action was taken.
all expressed during the library report. In fact, the action you took was pretty much the recommendation made by the Ways and Means Committee at yesterday's meeting. I don't know if they formally made that a recommendation, but that's what they were, the three of you were talking about.
Yeah, absolutely, but we did not make it formal.
We can get those minutes formally approved at next month's meeting. The Housing Review had two meetings. You've really given the Housing Review Committee power to act on these projects, so really all that needs to be approved is these reports. I don't think there are really any actions for the full board, do you, Mr. Tiger?
Well, there was a motion.
Yeah, it does say that, but I think it was just the way Julie wrote it. I told her that we probably don't need to do that anymore.
Okay.
Tom, if I may, just in a nutshell, we met on the 26th at 11 o'clock. All members were present. Prior to the meeting, Ms. Nelson had provided the board copies of some bid specifications. She explained that the project was considered to be an emergency, which is why we opted to go with the slightly higher bid, because they potentially could have had the work done 2 weeks in advance in an emergency circumstance. We felt that was in the best interest of the person getting the well to go with a little bit higher bid. Since that our board has the ability to act on that immediately, we did in fact do that with a vote of 3-0, so we were all in favor of going with a slightly higher bid to make sure that the well got drilled as quickly as possible. If you'd like to entertain a motion to accept that report, go ahead.
I'll make that motion. I'll second it.
anyone else? We'll just go on.
Well, did they get their well in then? Is it in?
I would have to ask Rachel.
I thought you said
That's the one I identified when Reggie was talking to us. That job has been completed. Citizens signed off, and the company that drilled it had signed off.
Great.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Well, there was one more housing review. Yeah, that's on your desk. Everyone, it just was held on Friday, so we're not in your board packet.
Housing Review Board Committee report. We did meet again on the 13th at 8:30 in the morning. All members were present. Meeting was called to order at 8:40 a.m. Prior to the meeting, Ms. Nelson provided us with copies of bids in regards to the specific project that was to be undertaken. Actually, there were two projects. Both of the lower bids were accepted. It happened to be the same company. One point of note is that normally in these types of situations that we're lucky to get two companies to bid on these projects. We got 5 for both of them. And we acted as a board to go ahead and accept both of the lower bids. So no action needs to be taken. And I'll entertain the motion to accept that report as well.
So moved.
Support.
Okay. We need a roll call or not? No, just all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
I apologize, I was looking at Mr. Hilliard thinking he was the chair of that
No,
committee.
not that
I'm
one.
sorry.
I got nothing.
Public safety, I think that's the
Public safety. Public safety met Tuesday, December 10th, 2013. All board members were present. We only have one item requiring board action. That's a lease agreement between Manistee County and Manistee County Humane Society. And at the meeting, Sheriff Kulikowski and Ms. Kenny, President of the Manistee County Humane Society, presented a proposed lease agreement between Manistee County and the Manistee County Humane Society to the committee. The lease is for space used in the Humane Society building by Manistee County Sheriff's Department Animal Control. The terms of the lease are from October 1st, 2013 through September 30th, 2016. The first year's payment will remain the same at $1,908.02 monthly. Changes from the last lease include the second year increase by 4%, which would total $1,984.34 monthly, and the third year increase by 5%, which would total $2,083.56 monthly. This also includes, in the new lease, would be the addition of staffing by the Humane Society staff to help out the animal control officer with duties which include assisting the officer with the animals, answering phones, intake and release of animals and paperwork, etc. The Humane Society will bill the county at $16.50 an hour for their service, not to exceed 40 hours per month. With that, I will make a motion to accept the lease agreement between Manistee County and Manistee County Humane Society for the term of 3 years from October 1st, 2013 through September 30th, 2016. Alternative recommendation was perfect.
I'll support that motion.
Discussion?
Yeah, I was curious about one thing. They talked about this extra person that's going to answer phones and help. This is all within the confines of that building, helping that officer, right?
Yes.
Yes, everything is...
Well, that's necessarily true, isn't it? As an example, on the animal cruelty thing that they went out there, their personnel actually went out and assisted.
It would be to assist animal control, yes.
Extreme situations, they will assist JR in...
The majority of it will be taken care of at the building itself. When the animal control officer is not at the building and someone comes to either drop off an animal or pick up an animal, the Humane Society staff person would do that for them. And then if JR, the animal control officer, was busy on complaints out in the county, they would assist him in taking care of the compound, besides what Mr. Sheriff had stated.
Is the animal control officer a union officer, a certified sheriff? Or?
He's not a certified deputy, but he is a union.
Okay. Yeah. And I'm going to guess that the union has no problem with this arrangement?
I have not heard differently, so.
No. We have not heard one thing negative regarding this. This actually has been being done for a long time, and the Humane Society is saying, listen, we need to be, this has been done for years, actually. And the Humane Society is saying we can't continue to do this for free because it's becoming more and more. And this really helps the county because it avoids us hiring additional staff to have to perform some of these duties. So it's really a win-win for both. The animal control operation allows the animal control officer to do more on-the-road type work rather than being tied to the office all the time. And really that is the reason why, one of the reasons why we actually, back in 2007, went together, or combined, or not combined, but had an arrangement with the Humane Society rather than just going out and building a new animal control officer or remodeling the one that we have. This actually will not cost us any more money in this year's budget other than for the 40 hours, which is about $7,200 a year. The animal control officer has enough money in his contingency surplus to cover that, so we will transfer that money from contingency surplus to handle that. One of the reasons why the lease actually goes up 4 and 5% is because we already have our budget adopted. And I was hoping that the lease, we have it budgeted at this year's lease amount, at the current lease amount. And so to limit the amount of extra expense, I asked that they not increase the lease for this next year, so that next year then we can budget that in.
Historically, they've been going up 3% a year, I think was the figure that you were given.
Correct.
And by bypassing this year, they're still going to get their 9% over a 3-year period.
Right.
What kind of services do they provide out there?
I couldn't tell you specifically, but they're in the office handling phone calls. They also do cleaning of the animal cages and stuff when the animal control officer is not there, but that's under a separate contract.
What?
They get paid $30 per day to handle those things.
What's in the contract, Mr. Bertram, is that they will help out, assist the animal control officer with animals, answering the phones when he's not there, intake and out and release of animals if someone drops off an animal, because a lot of times when the animal control officer is not there, 24/7. So if there was no one there at the building, people would chain dogs to the gate, drop them off, put cats in boxes or cages or whatever and leave them there and stuff like that. These people would be doing the intake and or if someone come to pick up an animal, the release of these animals for the animal control officer. There's two separate entities there where he holds the animals that are dropped off or picked up for a certain length of time. So if someone's dog got picked up running out large, for instance, okay, he's held in the animal control section of the building, not the Humane Society part. And then if the owner of the animal comes to release, pick that dog up, and JR's not there, they'd have to come back. Well, with the staff person there, that person would be able to release that animal to him. That's just part of it, one of them.
Okay.
All that sounds sufficient, and I don't have a problem. What I was curious about when it said help the animal control officer, if the animal control officer is in a patrol site going to pick up a dog, now, we're not talking about this person riding in the same car because of liabilities.
My understanding...
I don't believe that happens at all.
Yeah, my understanding, and Mr. Schaefer just mentioned that, is if there was a large residence someplace with a large number of animals being picked up, he may assist him in doing that. Okay, that was my understanding.
Yeah, they went out. Okay. The Humane Society folks did go out on that call with all of the huskies.
Yeah, it won't be that staff person's job or responsibility to ride with them all the time. I mean, it'll be once in a great while. So, I mean, it's not his responsibility to patrol with the animal control officer.
Is there any liabilities being on duty with this other person in the car?
I don't think it happens that way. But we can check with the sheriff. I don't think there's anything like that.
I don't think they ever ride with the sheriff. I think they would get him out there.
Well, I mean, if that's the case, I don't have a problem with it. I think the concept here is all right. I just don't want to be putting no liability.
No, I understand.
What happens to the strays and stuff that are brought in? Do we try to find homes for those? Or?
Well, I think after a certain, I'm not 100% clear on that, but I think after a certain period, those animals are given over to the Humane Society section and they try to find homes for them.
If you look at Appendix B, you will see a report from the Humane Society that shows what other animal control entities in other counties are paying, first of all, for animal control, and what the save rates are, and our save rates are much, much higher than any of the others. And that's because of our relationship with the Humane Society. The Humane Society basically has a no-kill policy, and so we used to euthanize many, many more animals than we do today. Many more. Because it's very seldom that I receive a bill from an entity that takes care of a euthanized animal. We have them cremated, and we get very, very few of those a year. In the past, that was probably a weekly occurrence. Now it's almost never done.
What you're saying is they're able to find homes for them.
Well, they do the best they can, yeah.
Okay.
This procedure and this policy is fairly consistent then? With other counties, or?
Well, I think there are other counties that have.
We have done this before?
I think they have relationships with the Humane Society, yes.
Okay, we need to
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Waitner?
Yes.
Mr. Bergstrom?
Yes.
Mr. Hilliard?
Yes.
Mr. Kolchak?
Yes. How do you get a save rate over 100%?
You know, I was going to ask that question at the committee meeting, and I never got a chance to ask that question. I'm not exactly sure.
Maybe one of the dogs had litters.
That's possible. I believe it has to do with dogs that are turned into the Humane Society by people that aren't, that people just bring animals to the Humane Society as part of the ones that they're supposed to take or have to take, plus the ones that are given over for adoption. My daughter-in-law's involved in animal.
So that's how it gets over 100% then, you're saying? Or?
Right, you got the ones that come from JR, plus you got some that are brought in. Right, so the ones that JR brings in, if they're salvageable, those are adopted out, plus the ones that are brought in are adopted out.
Okay, that makes sense here.
Okay, no other items required board action. Other items that we discussed before the exercise that emergency manager was going to have then the following day, I believe it was. We discussed the boiler system out there that was already brought up at the Ways and Means. We discussed the old animal control building on Franklin Road. Tinning project we discussed, and that was about it. So I'll make a motion to accept the public safety report.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Technology.
Technology met on November 21st at 8 a.m. Quote, 8 a.m. Jim?
Oh, come on! I'm here a lot of times, by noon. Come on.
Mr. McCullough reported presented quotes to the committee with pricing for tablets to replace the current laptops being used by the commissioners. Discussion took place with Mr. McCullough, explaining that using the tablets will eliminate the need for the CDs that are delivered each month containing the board packet. All the information needed for the meetings would be accessible on the tablet. Other features that commissioners could use on the tablets would be email and calendars. Ms. Nowak stated that within the next year she would like to convert to note-taking on a laptop or tablet as opposed to paper as she is doing now. Typing on touchscreen tablets may not be as efficient as a full keyboard. So when she decides to convert to the method of taking, other options will be pursued. Between the three options Mr. McCullough provided Appendix B, we recommend that ASUS on page B2 based on features of quality screen, brightness, and viewing angles. Funds for the purchase of the tablets could come from the Commissioner's Contingency Surplus Fund, which has a balance of $28,804. Mr. Bergstrom made a recommendation supported by Mr. Schmidt to pursue the 9 ASUS tablets for use by the 7 county commissioners, Tom Kaminsky, county controller, and administrator, and Jill, county clerk, at a cost not to exceed $2,700. With funds transferred from the county commissioners contingency surplus fund number 216-000-390-001 for payments of the tablets. No alternative recommendation was proposed, and I'll make the motion to purchase the tablets.
I'll support that.
How old are these computers?
Oh, they're several years.
Well, I know at least 5, because I got mine from James.
These are starting to get pretty ancient. We've had some commissioners that are starting to have some problems with them. We want to be able to.
It's pretty old.
We want to be able to go to a different, very similar to what Mr. Schaefer has. We will actually be putting your board packet on the county's website. Only certain people will have access to that board packet. You'll go in, you'll get it. You'll actually be on the internet during your meetings. So rather than giving you all these extra papers that didn't get into your board packet, we'll just add them to the board packet when you walk in on Tuesday or even Monday night if you decide to see, well, let's see if my board packet's been updated at all. You'll have all that right there. We won't be delivering board packets to you at all anymore.
What are you going to do, Tom?
Well, we still have to put them together. It's just a matter of not having to deliver them. I won't be able to take that little ride every now and then.
Do I have to get a new one?
You don't, but I would suggest that we still purchase. If you want to continue to use yours, we did have that discussion, I think.
We did.
And that discussion was that we still get one, even if you want to continue to use yours, we would then have a spare. And we don't know who the board will be a year from now, so then we'll already have one. Have them, if you decide not to run for office again, whoever takes your place would then have that tablet.
So you're talking about efficiency?
This will be much more efficient. I mean, these things, I couldn't tell you how much these cost, but I think Gordon's talking $270 for a tablet or something like that.
Yeah.
That's almost unbelievable to me. That we can get them that cheap now.
$300 each, 2,700 total.
And you do have money in your contingency surplus fund to be able to purchase these, so it's really time for us to do that. I know city council is using tablets,
I talked to
everybody's
Michelle,
moving.
I had asked her, and she said that they're using iPads.
Or iPads, okay. I really don't know the difference between all.
You pay an iPress for this,
Yeah.
which is much higher.
And I think Gordon did address that issue because we talked about what the city was using.
Yeah, and he said that these are as good, you got more bells and whistles.
The one thing that I'm a little concerned about, and I'll talk to Gordon before we order these, is when I talked to Mitch Dice, he said that one of the problems that they have at City Hall is that you have to just keep scanning through your, to get to a certain page. And we have the bookmarks.
Right.
And he says they haven't figured out how to do that yet. Do you have
Yeah, I got
bookmarks?
bookmarks.
Okay, so there's a way to do it.
Right there.
Yeah. So you don't have to just keep scrolling.
It also depends on the
But the
format
cities
in
don't,
which you download.
and I know that.
Yeah, which is
I know we haven't found it yet.
which
I'll
can
put
be
it that way.
which can be a difficult. I wouldn't
Kurt should be able to help on that too.
So we'll
Those would be the same for committees too, or are you gonna put all this stuff for
we
committees?
could
Why not?
we could do that and really eliminate a
We
lot of
got it
paper.
right away too. We got
Yeah.
it right away, so.
Yeah.
I started on my players with that paper now. What are you doing?
And then if you want certain things printed, you can call us and we can get certain things printed for you. It just, it's a lot of things I email to commissioners now. This is the first board that I've had everyone on email, so, okay, I'm sorry. I got the signal.
You were about to get the news, but we're gonna go right down the line then. All right. Do we need a?
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Waitner?
Yes.
Mr. Bergstrom?
Yes.
Mr. Hilliard?
No.
Mr. Kolchak?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
6 to 1 passed.
Okay.
There are other items listed that didn't require any board action. You can read those over. With that, do I have a motion to accept the report?
You do. I'll make that motion.
Support.
Okay. So that's the end of the technology, huh?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Tom?
I only have one item that's on your agenda on the very last page.
Make it
That
short.
is to schedule your annual organizational meeting. It's usually held on the first business day in January. Doesn't have to be, but we usually like to get a chairman and a vice chairman elected as soon as possible in January. In the past, it's been held at 9 a.m., it can be held at 1 p.m., usually only about a 15, 20-minute meeting. One thing we would also like to do is, because of Russ's illness, normally in November or December, we bring to you a review of the financial statements for the past year, let you know how the year ended, and ask you to make some decisions on some of the surplus money, if there is surplus money. There's no guarantee of that, but Russ is working on end-of-the-year stuff right now and feels he'll be ready to close out the year by your organizational meeting. And since it is such a short meeting that day, we would like to schedule the organizational meeting for whatever time, and then immediately following the organizational meeting, go into a special meeting with the full board, here's a report, and take some action on the end-of-the-year financials, rather than just the Ways and Means Committee doing that.
You have to do two meetings in it?
I would suggest, because organizational meeting, you're really only supposed to take care of organizational items. So to be more official, you would adjourn the organizational meeting and then go right into your special meeting. And we'll have two separate agendas. I wouldn't think that you'll be here more than an hour and a half. So I'll say an hour and a half to be safe.
Did you say 8 o'clock?
For both meetings.
Did you say 8 o'clock?
I was thinking 7, but
7's fine.
Let's do it at 6.
Six?
All right, I'll be here.
6, I hear 5, you hear 5.
Let's do it at midnight. You got a good basement there.
So you need a motion to set your organizational meeting for January 2nd, or Thursday, January 2nd at whatever time, and also to schedule a special meeting to discuss year-end financials immediately following that organizational meeting.
I'll make
We'll
that
get all that
motion to start at 10 o'clock, 10 a.m.
What was it last year?
Or later, but I mean, 10 is pretty good, yeah.
That's not bad. I think it was in late morning last night.
Was it 10?
Yeah, higher.
Yeah, actually, it was 9s and 10s, we're getting pretty good with that.
Thursday, January 2nd, 10 a.m.
10 a.m.
I'll second that.
Well, I don't know, Robbie's gonna come, but maybe we should get him to. Yeah, we're gonna be at 10 o'clock.
New year, 2014. So 10 a.m. was it, or was it 8 a.m.? I got it.
10 a.m.
10 a.m.?
Yeah, or 10 p.m.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
And then the only other, just brief comment, I don't really think it really requires action, it's more of an operational thing. I'm happy to let you know that our renewal with MMRMA for our property and liability insurance actually went down a few $100s from last year to $193,000 some odd dollars. Last year was $194,194 or something like that. MMRMA does a fantastic job for us. We are also going to get a fixed asset allocation back from MMRMA in the amount of about $50-some thousand that usually goes into our capital improvement fund. That's basically a reimbursement back to all its members for a good year. We've received as much as $150,000 or $60,000 in the past. Sometimes we put that money back into our loss fund on deposit with the authority, but our loss fund is still on deposit with the authority is still over $400,000. And even though I reported to the Ways and Means Committee that that's come down a little bit in the last couple of years because of some lawsuits we've had, and actually a rather expensive lawsuit that never did get to court. We spent quite a bit of money in an actual court lawsuit that had to do with our court reporter and the circuit judge. That ended up getting dropped, but in the meantime, we spent a lot of money out of that fund, but it's still well in excess of $400,000. We have a stop loss of $185,000 per year, so we've got almost enough for about 2.5 claims that would reach that amount. So we're still very healthy. So we can always use the money in our capital improvement fund. So.
Is that a rebate on what we already paid, then, John, or is that actually?
Yeah, technically that's really kind of what it is, but it's also based on, every member gets a different amount. It's based on, first of all, you have to renew with them, and we've been members since 1983, and so it's kind of an incentive for us to renew, which is kind of a nice way for them to make sure entities renew. But it's also based on how long you've been a member, your loss history, and how they did as an entire group. MMRMA also does RAP grants. I've talked about those where, sometimes safety grants and things. We've received RAP grants from the Sheriff's Department. We've received them here in the courthouse for our locking system, those kinds of things. So MMRMA is really a very good organization, and I can't say enough about it. And our rates have just stayed very steady over the last several years.
So what we get
Just
back,
wanted to report that.
What we get back is proportional to what we paid in. So it's like a percentage of whatever you pay in.
Well, I can tell you that we've, for instance, a couple of years ago, the very first asset allocation was $150,000 or $160,000, and our total premium was $190,000. And $50,000 of that amount goes into our loss fund, which is really our own money. So we actually made a profit. not a profit, so to speak, but and they just started this program a few years ago, and they've been giving less and less because obviously the first year was the best because many of the members, which are all of us in counties, in cities, villages, and townships, all said, your fund balance is getting too high, you need to return some of that money back to members, and they agreed to do that. The MMRMA board consists of people like you, people like me. Probably the closest board member that we have is Fabian Izaki, as a member of the MMRMA board. I think he was very instrumental in starting that fixed asset allocation plan, and so it's just a very good organization.
So it's based on two things: the total amount that they saved, in a sense, and then kind of prorated to how much money we actually.
Yeah, I can actually probably get you a definition of exactly how they go about doing it.
I'm kind of interested in, but
okay. All right. That's all I have.
You don't get any more anyway.
I'm done. I promise. I have nothing.
One thing, page 178, if you'll notice, you got about a 20-page PowerPoint from the Michigan Agricultural Trends and Opportunities. James Byron I listened to in Kalamazoo at the MAC conference when I went in August, and his whole presentation. Then on page 178, you see one word, labor, in there. And what that refers to is the Immigration Reform Act that's not being addressed, if you will. There's counties that have problems in the state of Michigan with the Immigration Reform Act. It's a matter of getting immigrants in here and being able to work their crops at the specific timelines at harvest time. And MSU Extension recognizes this. The Conservation District recognizes this, and what I'm looking for is to get information from the MSU Extension. I've talked with Tom. We've already been in contact with MSU to get, I believe, a Mr. Finney at one time, and it just fell through the cracks over the fall. And what I eventually talked with Patrick Cuddly today from MSU Extension. He's got an email for Tom right now, actually. And we're looking at someone else. What I would like to do is have someone come down, give us information that's specific to our county, so we can recognize the Immigration Reform Act, and eventually, with the help of whoever presents this to us, some type of resolution that MSU Extension believes that the MAC conference will also endorse. But basically a letter to the Congressman Banasek being a little bit proactive, if you will, to recognize this and get it back on the board as a higher priority. Actually, because of the Affordable Care Act and then the sequestration, the Immigration Laws Act just got way down there. Before we suffer more, I'd like to be able to address that to Congressman Banasek, that this is an issue in Michigan, not just a borderline state. So I'm hoping the education can come to us.
So the feds are limiting the number of migrants that come up here? Is that kind of what the summary of this is, or what?
Well, there's actually a report from the League of Women from Travis County, Leelanau County law. It's the way that the laws are enacted, the different green cards, and there's a HD visa card. It's just a matter of it's hard to get the immigrants here in some instances, and if they have a hard time here or there, they may go to, in essence, maybe Pennsylvania, where the laws might bring them in a little easier. Whether the county supports immigrants. In fact, Jim here used to teach immigrant children, if I understand it right. So it's just a matter of how much help they get from the counties, actually, that dictates just how many people they can have. There's actually documented facts in the southern western Michigan states that they have left crops on the ground because they couldn't get immigrants to harvest them. So it's really it's an issue, and it'll get bigger and bigger until they come up with the right immigration law, Immigration Reform Act. So
I don't want to keep everybody here,
yeah.
but maybe I can ask you more questions about that.
But I think with some education from someone that can specifically talk about our county,
that'd be good.
I'm hoping that from there we can get enough education to actually support something that may go to Congressman Banasek, and I think it's a way that we can support our county farmers and agriculturalists, and I think it's important, and the more it goes on, I think the more difficult it gets.
Okay, that was really good.
Another thing, Merry Christmas.
One small thing, what Alan was saying, I did. I was in that program for about 8 years, I think it was. And basically what we did is we tried to do different things. I was in music, and we used to try to get the kids to speak English. So it was, most of them were, well, because if they could do the English, they'd go home and Mom and Dad would get their English. And it was a fairly good thing. But if they came more than once, that was all the better. But it was a pretty big crowd there. Yeah.
So the Immigration Reform Act will, in essence, end up being a help or a hindrance to counties. It might allow counties to give services that they're more comfortable and allow the immigrants to want to come up here and go to work.
Back in my days, as high school kids and stuff, they used to go out and do the gasoline and all the farm work in my area.
Yeah.
You know,
But that don't happen anymore.
That's how we got money to buy our school clothes for the next year.
I did it too.
What about you, Joe? You're next.
I just want to say thank you for on behalf of my staff and myself, thank you for the luncheon.
Yes,
I very appreciate that. And Merry Christmas and happy birthday.
I just would like to say that it's been an honor to serve with you all this freshman year of being a commissioner, and look forward to 2014. So Merry Christmas and see you in 2014.
I just want to wish all of you and your families Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Will you have your tie?
You know what, I've had this one quite a few years. The only time I wear it gets wet is Christmas time.
That's good. You look conspicuous in July wearing your tie.
Yeah.
Okay, here's one for Richard.
I gotta get going.
I figured you did.
Merry Christmas to everyone. Only one comment I'd like to make, and it was brought up in Osceola County. You know, we go to these West Michigan Alliance dinner. If you don't think you're going to make it, don't tell them that you're going to be there. They paid for like 10 dinners that nobody showed up for at $20 a piece. So just take in mind.
That does make a difference.
Because we're going to do it in July. We don't want 20 people not showing up.
And we will be hosting in July. So.
Yeah. So other than that, I've got to get going to the library.
Get a book for me.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Support. Those in favor? Opposed?
Wait a minute.
I want to stay another couple of minutes.
Everybody go forward? Let's stick around.
We'll go to Wilson and see some meat in there.
Tom, I'll be back.
Something.
Jill,